And now for the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show, here are Humble and Fred.
Very impressive, Phyllis. Yeah, go ahead, try and call us. We ever get the phone fixed? I don't know. No, it's the computer. No, it's the board. Is something wrong? Is something wrong?
What are you asking about? The phone lines?
I don't know.
Did Bell call us back yesterday or come back?
No, I didn't hear.
But it's not the phone lines. It's the board.
No, but the top line.
We're missing
Yeah, I don't
one.
know about that.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. You know what? Text us. Do whatever you want. Just, you know what? Do whatever is good for you. Ultimately, that's all that matters. It's Humble and Fred Show. Humble and Fred Show time. You know, you're what, 63?
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with best friend Dave yesterday, and he was telling me about somebody that, I can't remember how well he knew this person, but one of those classic tales of, you know, the dad feeling a little bit not well, has some indigestion, and goes up, says he's going to lay down,
Right.
comes back dead.
How did he come back dead?
Well, it went up, didn't come down.
Oh, yeah.
Went in, never came out. Went up,
How old?
never came down.
Did you give the age?
Went away, never returned. 67.
No, the man dying is just hilarious. Why don't we spin it some other
Took
ways?
a book out, never returned it.
Why don't we spin it some other ways to get some big laughs?
Started season 1, never got to season 2.
Hopped on, didn't hop off.
Thank you, Phil. Get into it. Rented one of those bikes downtown. Never put it back in its slot.
Got on an Uber, never came out.
What is that? Those called Bixie bikes?
Yes, Big C.
Bixie. What did you say? Why don't I spin?
It's just,
death?
yeah.
What else are you gonna do?
No, I know, but you know how devastated that family is. 67 isn't old, and an unexpected death like that. One day, Daddy's there, the next day, he's not.
Yeah.
Get your head around that.
Well, this is the point of this, is to say, let's acknowledge that life is precious and just be the best we can. Do the best we can every day, Fred. Every day.
Your dad, my dad. You know, you can prepare yourself for those deaths, but those who leave us instantly, it's this person
leave us early, you mean?
What did I
You
say?
said leave us instantly.
Oh no, I mean I mean instantly.
Yeah, unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly, okay.
Like in an instant they're gone.
Right.
Is what I meant.
Oh, I see. Well, unexpected.
And that's hard because you know, Dad would say, you know, that like, gee, I got a little indigestion, I'm feeling good, I'm going to go up and lay down for a minute. How often are those words spoken? And then all of a sudden you're dealing with funeral parlors and who's going to bring what casserole and that kind of thing. Right. So, what?
Nothing. I'm just filled with horrible thoughts.
No, I know it's awful.
It is awful.
It's 67, man.
No, this is why I brought this up. I knew.
That's me in 3.5 years.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't want to go in 3.5 years.
No. That's me in 7 years. Phil?
7 years.
7 years. Pop-Tart went in, never popped up.
Oh, never came out.
By the way, welcome show. Welcome show, people. If you're watching us on Twitch, you're going to see something you may never or haven't seen in some time. And that is Phil Hong in a new shirt.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I just was looking away when you complimented Phil on his new shirt. And then I tuned in when he said, it's the first new shirt I've bought in 8 years.
Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much. I think 8 years ago I went to an outlet mall and bought a golf shirt. But that's
So
before.
all the shirts you've been wearing up till now are 8 years and older then.
Oh yes, yeah. So my oldest shirt I think is from 2007, something like that. But you know I wear them until they have holes. Basically, I really could care less.
What prompted you to buy this new one?
I thought I might as well renew my wardrobe a bit. Pearlie's been talking about that. She's like, I like you, but if you only have 6 shirts in your closet, that's not exactly helpful. I'm like, okay, got it.
She said, I like you, but you need to...
Yeah.
You need to
update
the drobe.
Sounds like Delise.
The suit I wore to my wedding was 9 years old. The tie that
What?
the suit that I wore to my wedding in Hong Kong was 9 years old.
Yeah,
the
but
tie
that
was
suits
7.
are different. I've got,
Yeah.
well, until I gave it all away, I had some, stuff in my wardrobe in Oakville there that I'd owned for 15 years. Certainly I had a suit or two that was 10 or 15 years old.
I still have a suit that you gave me in the late 90s.
The green one.
Yeah. I don't wear it because I've updated, but I could. Mm-hmm. Although I think the pants are a bit baggy for today's style.
The other day, that was weird because we went golfing, Fred and I, and you're like, see these pants? You gave them to me. I'm like, what? Because there was a time when my waist size would have been...
No, you just gave them to me last year.
Oh, was it last year I gave them to you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Good for me.
Because I guess they were just a little tight on you or they weren't comfortable. You gave them to me and they were lovely.
Well...
And I wear them.
Now that my body has been ravaged by disease, those pants would fit me. But they look good on you.
You also gave me a pair of shorts as well, golf shorts. A 34-inch waist.
Nice. Well, Phil, congratulations. Hope you and your shirt are very happy.
One day we'll
Phil,
walk off.
I actually have a few golf shirts. When I rented a place in Florida, I don't know if you recall me telling you, the woman that rented me the place, her brother had been on the PGA Tour.
What?
Yeah, way down or
Oh,
something.
okay.
I forget what it was. But he had a deal with one of the companies, and he passed away early, late 40s.
Instantly?
No, I think it was cancer.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I felt bad. She said, she said, could you wear large golf shirts? Because she knew we were coming down to golf. And I said, sure. And she said, I'm going through my brother's place. It was a nice woman. She said, I have boxes of large golf shirts. And would you like a couple? And I said, sure, I can, a large is fine. So when I got there, they were extra larges. And they're massive. They'd be way too big for you even. Would you want a couple?
I'm good.
Why
What do
not?
you mean?
You could wear
wouldn't-
them.
You wouldn't take them from...
You would wear extra
I
large, right?
probably would. Yes.
You look good in it.
Oh, thank you.
They'd look way too sloppy on you, Howard.
Yeah, that shirt
Yeah.
looks very nice on you, though,
Yep.
Phyllis.
American extra large, as always.
XL.
Tea towel.
Welcome to the
So you
show.
don't want them?
Oh no! I'm open to it, but
Okay.
it's okay.
Welcome to the show. Phil's got a new shirt. That's our show. That's our content. I don't know what the other talk shows are doing. Are they doing 7 minutes on instant death and Phil's shirt? No. Why? Because they're probably talking about some issues of the day, countdown to the Canadian election. Is there anything duller? What do we do for the Canadian election? I was in Oakville yesterday. I was hanging out with Dave, and I used to see all the street signs on the lawn once again. And I used to live in that neighborhood, so I know some of the names. They're re-elect.
That guy.
Well, there's two that I saw. One is Sean Weir, I believe, is the candidate's name. But I drove by it, and all I could think of is Mike Weir. And then somebody else was a woman named Pam Madoff. Something, and I was like, someone should take her sign and go Pam on and off. I was just driving around doing that stupidity. But I just feel bad for those people. They put up their signs like it's gonna matter.
A couple of weeks ago, I drive onto my street, and as I approach my home, I see this conservative sign on my lawn.
What?
Excuse me?
On my lawn.
On the Fred lawn.
A conservative sign.
Sacred lawn of Fred.
And I've the candidate Banji Boohoo or something.
Banji Boohoo.
Yeah.
Vote Boohoo.
Yeah. No, seriously, it was something like Banji
I would
Boohoo.
totally elect Boohoo.
Boo boo.
So I dash into the house and I say to Delise, did you okay that sign on our front lawn? And she said, no, there's a sign on the front lawn. I said, yeah. So I go out and there it is. And there's a little sticker tag on the front door saying, thank you for allowing us to put this sign. And I said, sorry, you got your wires crossed. So I immediately phoned them. And I said, I don't put signs on my lawn. Sorry, I just don't do that. Whether I vote conservative or not, I'm not advertising it. Thank you very much. Come and get your sign. And they never did. So I put it in the trash.
Two questions. Why didn't you just do that first and save yourself the phone call?
Sure.
Well, because I wanted them to know.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah, like I
I
just
get
said, I never gave permission. Oh, like, I'm sorry. And I said, so you tell Mr. Banjaboohoo that he better come and get his sign. They never came to get it. And those things aren't cheap, and they keep them from election to election
They do.
if they rerun. So I just put it in the trash.
I would move to Brampton so I could vote for Boohoo. Seriously.
Boo-hoo for MP.
When you're feeling sad, call your candidate Boohoo.
Yeah. Oh, you lost? Boo.
Yeah, all that stuff.
I heard Doo-Doo's running for the NDP. It's like Doo-Doo and Boo-hoo.
Seriously?
And then Yogi.
Do you think any election sign has ever swayed anyone? Like, yeah, sorry, Sean, but you drive into my neighborhood, it's a sea of blue. It just is, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's my neighborhood. And traditionally, my riding has gone liberal. But it's a sea of blue, given for whatever reason. Do you think people drive up and go, oh, I don't know who I'm going to vote for, but everybody else on the street's voting conservative. I think I will.
Yeah.
Do you think that,
was
it works
my
that
point,
way?
Is that no? I feel bad for these candidates. They throw up all these signs. You know, there's a lot of effort. And this one street that I drove on just before I drive to Dave's place, 6th line in Oakville, and it's a sea of them. There's a long stretch of. There's just a sea of different candidates, none of which will sway anyone's vote.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be something to it.
I think it's to remind you who's running in that riding.
That the name. So when
Just
you
the name, yeah.
when you get into
You walk into the booth, you're like, "Where's Boohoo?"
Oh, I recognize that
Yeah,
name.
no, yeah. Boohoo's sign.
Because that's how intelligent people vote.
Well, that's it.
yeah.
They go, Boohoo's sign is on my lawn. I love that guy.
But that's how the ballot
And I'm
works,
really
right?
caught because even if I wanted to vote conservative now, it'd be Midgie Boohoo. Put that sign on my lawn. I'm mad at him. Should I vote for him? Or
You know,
should I vote for the Green Party?
I don't know what his first name is.
Benji.
Can we find? Is it Benji Boohoo?
Yep.
Is that really?
Your riding's Brampton North, right? If memory
Yeah.
serves me right? Yes.
Yeah, it's Brampton North. It's Caledon South. It's Caledon wannabes.
Can I tip you off onto something
not Boohoo?
before you go to that? I made up Banji Boohoo.
Oh, probably.
It's something in that area.
Some name, some
please.
nice name.
What?
Can it really? Can we just say Fred's riding is Benji Boohoo?
Well, before he exclaimed that it's something, it's
Sure.
something different.
Your MP was that lady who hired the maid incorrectly about
That's
15
right.
year ago? That
Oh.
lady. Yeah.
Ruby Sahotru or something.
Sahota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sahoda.
Nice person, but
Sahoda.
weird situation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what this neighborhood. Probably liberal. I think there's a candidate's head office
Oh, yeah.
over here.
Oh yeah, there is. I think it's Yvonne Baker or something.
No, I thought it's Hines or something.
Oh right, like there's a campaign office on Islington. And
Oh, no, there's one
Bloor.
right here on the Queensway.
Oh,
the
there
campaign, yeah, right across from.
Toronto traditionally goes red with a little bit of orange.
Well,
Toronto.
the conservative
It
candidate's
does.
name is
I know.
Khanna.
Huh?
Khanna.
Is that who left
Boo-boo.
a sign on my thing?
Arpan Khanna.
Oh no, it's Canna Boo Boo.
Boohoo.
Canna Boo Boo.
Excuse me for mixing up Arkan Pana to Banji Boo Boo. Honest mistake.
I'll pull us a Sahota.
Wrath of Kana. I think. Well, listen, it's already. The show hasn't even started. We're going to talk about the Leaf trip to Montreal. Also, the NHL season getting underway tonight. And I don't know if you guys have seen this on your Facebooks, but I keep getting this notification that the bee is the most important animal on the planet, and we're going to dive into that. Also, the president of the United States of America believes there's a coup underway.
Yeah. He's totally demented.
Yeah.
You know, he isn't demented. He's brilliant because his diversion tactics right now are just absolutely brilliant. I heard someone yesterday explain them. Plus, hats off. I don't care what anybody says. Hats off to CNN, the way they're covering this. I mean, seriously. I watched a couple hours yesterday after the rain, and you know what? They look at both sides. They give a voice to both sides. They look at it, rationally.
Well, we talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
If you watch Fox up till 6 o'clock, so do they.
Yeah.
I mean, Shepard Smith's 3 hours could be on
I know.
CNN.
The only problem, I watched Shepard Smith for a bit yesterday. He delves into it, and he's fair, but they don't give it the time it
No,
deserves.
I know.
Because it's against the president.
But
Yeah.
at least he and a lot of their hosts during the day present a more fair and balanced.
Yes, I agree.
And I think, Shepard's good. I like the guy on CNN, Jake.
Jake Tapper.
Jake Tapper's good.
Trump hates him because
Oh, yeah.
Tapper.
Makes too much sense.
Yeah,
He makes
calls
too
it.
much sense, and he's smart.
All right, speaking of making sense and smart, it's time. Here, wait for it, Phil.
Danduran's weather, Danduran. Danduran's weather, Danduran. Weather, Danduran. Danduran's weather, Danduran.
Danduran.
Ah, yes.
It's
Well, there we go.
Danduran's weather. Hello,
That was
Danduran.
quite some rainstorm yesterday.
Yeah, that was cool.
Thought I'd dive right into the weather there.
Yeah, you should.
You know, where I was, we didn't get a lot of rain per se. It got really dark and ugly. The sky almost got purple. And then we didn't get a lot of rain, but it was threatening.
Well, I was on a golf course, which I do occasionally, and I had my buddy Dave text me and said, where are you? I said, I'm, playing Glen Abbey, which I was lucky enough to play yesterday. And he said, rain's coming in like 30 minutes because he was looking at some aviation stuff, but I looked over at the Weather Network, Dan, and he was right. 30 minutes later, it started to come down.
It came, well, there's about 12 millimeters that hit the area yesterday. As we hit our, all those records were broken yesterday.
What about
Temperature record.
What about your area?
Well, I was in Toronto yesterday. I was working on a TV series.
Oh, good
Oh,
for
yeah?
you.
What was your part?
I was the VNN anchor.
Excellent.
Nice. Good bit of work there. Very nice.
But did you get a lot of rain up in that area? Because remember, my boat needs to be bailed out, Dan.
I will get to that this weekend.
Yeah,
no
okay,
problem.
thank you.
Bail that boat, tote that bail. Hey, Dan, what
Bail it on
records?
Thursday.
Daniel, what were the records broken yesterday?
The temperature records for kind of around Toronto and the Hamilton area. We were talking about Hamilton breaking a record. It got to 30 degrees, and the record was set in 2002 at 27. But in Toronto, it also broke a record with 29.5 in 2002 as well, and we hit 31.8, so almost 32 degrees yesterday. And with the humidity, it was way, way up there.
Yeah, it was a glorious, glorious day. And you know what? It wasn't so bad because it was pretty windy. Like, not terribly so, but good gusts, like in the 30s. So even though it was super humid, it was almost like the first day of October. It could have been the middle of July
Does that affect your golf game?
in a positive way because
What
the
the-
heat... The heat makes my... there's Amanda Barker. Amanda Barker's here. There's
Amanda Barker. Barker here.
Yeah, the heat's good for old man back.
It makes the ball go further?
Well, it does actually, but that's for me. It's more about how it makes my body feel.
Oh, it's your personal machine.
Well, you feel better too when it's warm, don't you?
Oh,
always
without
feel- yeah.
without a doubt. Conversely, if you play fall golf and it's a bit chilly, you're somewhat stiff
It's uncomfortable.
until you can loosen up. That's a traditional thing in baseball too. A hot summer's eve, humid eve, the ball will travel farther. So that's the way it works.
That's physics for you.
Okay.
Is it? I don't even know. I don't think
ball
that is
physics.
physics, is it?
Possibly. I mean, humid air and balls traveling through that type of thicker air may or may not have an issue. For golfers, it's the ball heats up. And I've had some like I've hit a good drive on a really hot day, and it
Your
goes-
longest drive ever, what was the temperature that day?
It was 27 degrees with a chance of shut your face.
30%.
I didn't really
You remember everything.
I
about
do
your
remember.
game.
I remember every shot you hit the other day.
I know you do.
It's so weird.
So why is it so odd to ask what the temperature was in your longest drive?
Dan Duran, what are we looking for? It's Wednesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday,
And, only our
abnormal temperature trend. If you go to the Environment Canada website, that's what they say.
Do what?
There's an abnormal temperature trend,
what
and
does
what
that
that
mean
means is
for us?
as this cold front comes through today, it's the temperature will be dropping through us. So like it's the warmest it's going to be today right now.
Right.
Well,
And
that's
then
not very positive.
No,
And the temperature is going to be dropping all day today.
Well,
That doesn't seem very
we
positive.
said that yet. Like by this
especially
afternoon,
further
it's going to
north.
be like 12 degrees or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, can't you have a more positive outlook? Oh, this is the best it's going to be ever.
It all goes downhill.
Well, okay.
Everything
Maybe I
goes
should
down
reach-
here for now.
Yeah, I'm unlike other weather forecasters. I'm the pessimistic forecaster. I'm always looking for the
Dan, we have
the
a
worst in
question
weather.
for Dan from the Twitch Hive today.
Here we go.
Dan Duran, Will you be auditioning for the role of Bob Barker's microphone? I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Yeah.
Anyways, back to the serious business of the weather.
Right.
So we're going to have a cool afternoon.
Cool afternoon, and into the weekend, it's going to get even cooler. In fact, areas like further north, they're talking about. Well, there's a lot of areas outside of Toronto that are looking at maybe frost overnight on Friday night.
Come on.
Yeah. Up near Peterborough, where I live, is -1 for the overnight on Friday night.
There was actually, I'm looking for it here. There was actually another question. Someone wanted us to ask Dan. They're doing something up in an area of the province, and they wanted Dan to know. They wanted us to ask Dan about the weather. I had it here, and
we'll get that for me tomorrow, and I'll tell him.
That's right. Okay.
Right. Sure. We'll forget, but we'll probably.
It was one of our regulars.
A little bit of rain this morning, by the way, and then that'll move on, and then possibly some rain tomorrow afternoon. Some light rain here and there.
All right. Well, I'm looking for this afternoon. We have our second last men's league golf thing, and it looks like this afternoon is going to be little light rain, just less than a millimeter in the area, which isn't very much, by the way. And then around 4 o'clock, it starts to fade away, but it's going to be cool. 14 this afternoon, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of chill.
Rick Cameron is going ATVing with a bunch of guys this weekend up in the Bob Cajun area.
Yeah.
So he'd like to know, what will it be like this weekend?
On Saturday? Well, it's supposed to be kind of sunny on Saturday, but again, it's not going to be. It's going to be a cool weekend, like 13 and 14 degrees.
Oh,
yes.
Will be the high.
What is the average? I'm sorry.
No, there you go, Rick Cameron. It's because I had seen that forecast because I'm going to be up in that area as well. We're dealing with 12, 13 degrees and mostly sunny, but.
Dan, what is the average temperature for this time of the October? The 2nd of October? Yeah.
Up in the Bob Cajun in that area there, it's about 16 for the high and 4 for the low. And in Toronto, it's 17 and 8. So 17 would be normal for this time.
Dan, we got another text here from, I'm not sure who this is, J. Trudeau. He wants to know, is it okay if I put blackface on my face? And then just take some pictures of it. Is that okay, Dan?
To keep warm.
To keep warm.
Well, I'm really glad that Jay's asking me to weigh in.
Jay Trudeau wants to know if the weatherman Dan Duran agrees with putting on blackface anytime in the past or present.
Yeah, I don't know when it was a good idea, but sometimes I think he was brown face. Did you call it brown face?
Well, whatever. Yeah. Dan loves his JT.
Yeah. And there's another one here from a Greta Thunberg. She wants to know, is she too young for you to date her?
Wow.
What?
Wow.
What's the matter?
What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
What's happening?
What did I walk into?
What? Yeah. This thing's just got a little weird. Anyway, Dan Duran, weather brought to you today by Dan Duran. For all your Dan Duran needs, go to danduran.com.
There you go.
If you're thinking of doing a movie and you're looking for somebody to read the news and or sports or weather, Dan Duran is your man. Thank you, Dan Duran.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Dan Duran,
thank you.
weather. Very nice. Here we go, Phil. Wait. There we go. Bye, Dan.
Bye.
Weather, Dan Duran, Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran, Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran.
Weather, Dan Duran.
All right, everyone, we'll take a break here.
Weather station.
What you call Amanda Barker hanging out with us. We're going to talk about bees and the beginning of the NHL season, and also get your head around this. When you think of the 1990s, how far away or recent does that feel to you? This is all part of the Humble and Fred program, live on Canada's comedy superstation, Funny 820, and around the world at humbleandfredradio.com.
Barry literally hauled in his remote machine to board off, and so he wanted to make sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Good.
It's all good now.
Hi.
Hi, Barky Barker. Hi, my little Barks. Barky.
Yeah. Why you so fucking cute?
Gonna get a top knot.
Why you got the top knot? You're so cute.
My hair's so dirty.
Why you so
I got
cute?
the dirty hair.
You're cute.
Dirty. How's your Rosh Hashanah going?
Just cruising.
Yeah.
Just cruising right through it, man. I had dinner at my ex-mother-in-law's on Sunday night for
Yeah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
We had the honey, we had the challah and the honey. I mean, the apples and the honey and the challah, and we said a couple of little blessings, and we ate a bunch of Jew food.
Have you been to Israel?
No, thanks.
I'm gonna go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Want to go together?
Yeah. You wanna come?
Let's do it. Let's go Jew tourism.
I'm going to Bahrain.
Why? For a gig?
For work. And so
For
we're gonna
what kind of work?
KPMG.
Really?
For KPMG. Yeah.
To Israel?
I'm gonna go to Bahrain. I'm gonna go to, and then that's how you say it apparently. Bahrain.
Where is that?
UAE, United Arab Emirates.
So close to Israel, obviously.
Other side. And
Okay.
then, but I was looking at Middle East flights, and there's a lot in and out of Istanbul. So,
Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Have you ever been
in
there?
my head,
Can't stop-
all week,
yeah.
Mark was like,
I
I've
know.
never heard the song. I can't stop listening
Yeah.
to They Might Be Giants.
Love it. Fucking love it.
So
Playing
we're
it
gonna
down.
go to Tel Aviv for a few days, and then we're gonna go to Istanbul.
Mark is going to go with you?
Yeah, it's a gig. Both of us are
Oh,
flying.
you
for
know,
Istanbul or
I
work.
hear wonderful things about Istanbul. Have you ever been there?
No, never.
It's supposed to be fucking fabulous.
Really?
It's a little.
I'm a little-
There's a little bit of unrest there. Right
I'm
now.
a little.
But all Delisa's relatives in England, their Florida, their beach holidays are always on the west coast of Turkey, on the beaches there.
Yeah.
They fucking love it. Love it.
I'm a little nervous, but I feel like those three places are the best of the.
Like
Like
it's,
we're not going to Aleppo. You know
it's
what I mean?
definitely on the no-fly thing, Turkey right now.
Is it really?
I think so. If you check, I think.
Um,
Or the no-go zone. But anyway.
So
what are you gonna do? Not live your life?
when is this?
In November.
Okay. So I will be taking that week, the first week of December off.
Why?
Fred.
Why? You're doing it for them?
Yeah, I
Oh.
talked to him yesterday. Here's the thing. They've had to cut back like everyone else, and a bunch of guys that they took for, like they took me and that Andrew Jackson guy and two other people that kind of went along for nothing. And he said to me yesterday, he said, listen, we're not taking any of those guys anymore. He said, your deal is good for 2020, so that's great.
Is this public?
Yeah, so I'm back for 2020, but he said we just...
Oh, for next year too?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So that's the good news. But they said Howard, we're not taking, like there's 4 people he took every year for free. We're just not taking it. I said, but you know what, Scott, here's the thing. I like going. It breaks up the winter. Tell me what the price is. You know, maybe they can get, he says, oh fuck, we'll give you it. So it's a $2,000 trip. They're probably going to cost me $1,000, but I'm going to do it.
Well, so how is that? Why do you have to pay any? You don't usually do.
I just said all the guys they took for free, they can't take for free
Oh,
anymore.
I thought that
Including
you
you.
meant them, not
No.
you.
Me
Oh,
too.
no.
I thought
Yeah,
that too.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Should be
So
the
there's
other
4 of us that they took
Right.
along.
Will those guys have that option too?
Yes.
Oh,
In
okay.
fact,
Good.
it's funny because
that'll be fun.
a couple of the other guys that had that option took it already.
That's
So I said, "Fuck, I want to come along. I love it."
In Florida?
Yeah, just in like Fort
Fort
Lauderdale area.
Lauderdale. Where you go? You've been?
Yeah, I've been, but I just want to do it for $1,100, $1,200, $1,000. It's a great
What
deal.
week is it?
It'll be the week before our party, so it'll be the week of the 2nd. No, you don't get it off.
Oh,
Yeah, you're staying.
so it's a.
No, we're getting it off.
random.
You come in every day. You just hang up.
Well,
Well, I'm kidding, Phil. Obviously, you know, Phil.
Okay. Free hydro.
what, are you going to do a quick trip to fucking...
No, I'm just making
Come
sure
to
that I've got
Turkey.
that stuff lined up.
No, no.
Oh,
But-
I'm just making sure that I'm
You
getting
take
kids
it.
That's all.
Well, okay.
Well, whatever you want.
We
But
can do
it's-
whatever
I'm
we
taking
want.
that week off.
Oh, of course.
So I have to solidify everything like the next day or two, but I'll be gone the week prior, and I come back that week that you're. But that's good. That works.
So we are doing the party? I thought. What did we resolve?
We set a date, the 12th. We had this.
Yeah,
Yeah, December
12th, yeah.
Here we go.
That's right, yeah.
Where do you think we have a strategy here? Oh.
It's the week of December 2nd?
Yeah, that Monday, I guess. The 2nd through the 5th or whatever. Yeah, that's the trip.
This Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, now it's church delight on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam.
And welcome back to the Humble and Fred program, now in its 30th solid year of just daily crushing it. What have you been doing for the last 30 years, Humble and Fred? Crushing it. Constant crushing. That's the Humble and Fred story.
The Crushers.
The Crush
They crush your
Masters.
mornings.
We're crushing morning radio now
That's
for
it.
over 30 years. Who's left? No one. We crushed them all. Do you understand that we had, when we started, there was Roger, Rick, and Marilyn, Brother Jake, and Jesse and Gene, and some other people that we crushed them. They're all gone. Where did they go? They got crushed by Humble and Fred.
They
That's
retired rich.
Yeah, whatever. I choose to look at it a different way. They got big packages.
They crushed their retirement.
We crushed them into retirement. That's what happened.
This morning on our brother station, News Talk 1010, I was listening to John Moore, and he was talking about golfing 9 holes yesterday with Roger Ashby from Chum FM. And he said they were, he was saying Roger's really enjoying his retirement. And he said, whenever you get together with guys like that, you start talking retirement, and, you're trying to determine, are you going to end up eating cat food?
Yeah.
That's what John said. And I'm thinking to myself, Roger's not eating cat food.
No. Roger's eating live cats.
Yeah.
That's how much money he has.
That's right.
You don't even know. It's a thing for rich people. They take a cat, they dip it in some fondue, hot oil.
Oh, God.
It's a kitten. It hasn't lived.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
No,
it.
it's more making me pukey.
No.
Not horrified.
You're
Or can you imagine what Roger feeds his cats?
Yeah.
Forget. Yeah.
Yeah.
to be one of Roger Ashby's cats is a place that would be an honorable. That's my retirement plan.
A chicken cordon bleu.
Yeah, I'm gonna. What's Howard doing? He's pretending he's a cat for Roger Ashby.
Meow.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's a
know.
living.
I didn't know Raj teed it up.
Here's what I know.
Everybody tees it up. It's what happens after that, right?
I'll take. I don't even know anything about Roger, but if he was playing with John Moore, I'll take you over both of them. I'll take you and I against those two.
Funny you say that, because I'm sitting there, my wheels start going. I'm thinking, I'm going to call John and say, hey, next time you're out with Roger, can I come with you? And then I'm thinking, you know why? Because I'll be the best.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll get the best score.
I remember Fred and I and John Moore went golfing. This was years ago, but within the last 8 years. And, you might be surprised, Amanda, to know that when Golfer Howard shows up, it's a very different, it's like a different patience level I have, because I know from doing this thing my whole life how difficult it is for people. So I tend to be quite, I think, quite patient.
I've heard this.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Because I have an appreciation for how hard it is for others. It's hard for me. But that day we went golfing with John, so I knew what Fred was like because I'd played with Fred before. And Fred can hit a ball and keep things going, and he hits it and it goes sort of down the fairway, and you walk and you get it. And with John, we tee off, and John hits it, 8 yards, 10 yards, it's like right there. And I just said to myself, wow, it's going to be one of those days where it's just, and he would hit it, and he's gotten better. But conservatively, he'd hit it 8 times before we get to my drive. And I was like, I don't know how much, maybe we'll just play 9.
And then you're thinking, why can't he be like Jeff Lumby and get frustrated and walk off
Just
the
quit.
course?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
quit. Because that's what Jeff Lumby did. Last time I golfed with Lumby, I think it was the 12th hole. He walked off. Or threatened to. And then Darren, our other buddies, go, what are you, crazy?
Oh,
Talked him down.
Does he beat his
Oh, yeah.
club?
He
I can
beats
see
his
that.
sticks.
God love him.
I talked to Lumby about that. I said, we should. He's like, I don't want to golf anymore. I'm like, how do you why? Because it's too frustrating? It's frustrating for everybody. He doesn't want to play anymore.
No, there's a guy up north. He's the same way. He said, "I don't play." He said, "I don't need to pay $50 to be aggravated." And I said the same thing to him. And this guy's a teacher, a phys ed teacher. I said, "It's all in your head, man. You don't have to feel that way."
Right. It's a practice.
Someone who enjoys the outdoors.
It
and,
is a practice.
Yeah, being outdoors and hanging out with guys and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be that frustrating. It can be frustrating.
You know, there really is kind of that. You know, and I used to get very frustrated, but that yoga mentality of it doesn't. You don't have to be great all the time. It's more about the experience and I had such a great time. You know, I have more fun golfing now than I ever have. I get frustrated from time to time, and it's aggravating, but it's aggravating in more of a, I know it's going to sound weird, but what do I learn from this kind of feeling, you know?
You meet your game where it's at.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, and golf is, you know, and I've explained this to Rachel over the last couple of years. There's so much to learn from that game that applies to the rest of your life because how you show up under that, in that situation is very similar to how you show up the rest of the time.
We're all the best in the best situations. It's
Yes.
all the other times.
There's a great, you'll love this, Parks. There's a great saying in golf that golf doesn't build character, it reveals it.
Oh, I like that.
That's true.
And it does both, I think. But first it reveals it. And then you know, I played golf yesterday with two people I'd never met, Raj and Rakesh, both great guys, and I knew I could tell what they were like within a couple holes, and I could know them for years, but not know what I knew about them as people just by the way they conduct themselves in the game. Because I know the game, and I can see how you show up in it. Like that guy we played with the other day, good guy, decent player. You can see what kind of man he was by how he accepted the vagaries of the game, because it's how you accept the vagaries of life.
Yeah.
Well, right down to this, where, and you've often said it, all that matters is your next shot, because there's nothing you can do about the last one. So get that out of your head. And in your life's like that too. You can't relive yesterday. So
Here's another good one.
what can you do today?
Recovery is more important than remorse. Most people lean into the remorse of any situation, whether it's golf or life, but we all lean into that. But in reality, it's more about how you recover.
Yeah.
And the last one I love from golf is you don't need to follow a bad shot with a great shot. You just need to follow a bad shot with a decent shot. Most people hit a bad shot in life and they want to just make it up right away, and they try for a heroic, you know, gesture, and it's frustrating because that gets worse. And golfers will do that. You know, rather than chip it back to the fairway when they're in trouble, they'll try and make a hero shot, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. But most people try and follow a bad shot. They want to make up for it right away, as opposed to just making up for it a little bit at a time. Anyway, that's my golf lesson for the day.
And I thought, wouldn't that be ironic too? After what you did for me the other day, wouldn't that be funny? Like within a couple of weeks, I'm out in the golf course and I'm teaching John Moore and Roger Ashby. Hey guys, you got to aim over here.
Wow,
giving them all these life lessons.
It wouldn't be ironic at all, because if Roger Ashby is as good as John Moore, you got a lot to teach them.
I wonder if this will get back to Johnny.
Oh, boy.
Hey, kidding. We're having fun.
All right, listen, before we hook up with the retirement Sherpa, let's talk about our good friends at Gig Sky. By the way, did you get that note about Gig Sky
I did.
Honcho?
Yes.
Ravi?
Yes.
Rishi
Tuesday.
Maharaj?
Tuesday, I think.
Seriously? All right.
I think so.
Good.
Yeah.
Good work. By the way, what's
Not
that thing
confirmed.
on the top of your...
TBC.
What's that thing on the top of your head?
A top nut?
I like it.
A top nut.
A top knit.
It's a nut on the top of my head because my hair is dirty.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, and again, I say this with all respect, it's just you're adorable today with your top knot.
Thanks. I wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah, you're
That's
adorable.
like all due respect.
Yeah, I don't mean, because, you don't see gender.
You got one of those man bun things going on.
Yes, I'm wearing a man bun.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
The way you pull it off.
Well, I wasn't sure. I was really like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know.
Also, we should, before we this whole month ends, are people doing this thing now? It's like a sober October.
Oh.
Have you not heard of that?
Yes, I did.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
I have not.
Do your thing.
I blew it yesterday. I had a beer outside. Gig Sky supporting the brand new iPhone 11s with the eSIM services. Same plans available on all the latest iPhones. Fantastic, really. Including the World Plan, regional plans, and daily plans. They also have the World Plans available on iPads and Windows-connected devices. The Surface Pro, Acer Swift 7, and other eSIM-enabled Window devices. And coming soon, for the Google Pixel eSIM customers, they'll have the Gig Sky app available. Yes, in the near future, look out for that. Gig Sky, on top of it all the time.
Let's not forget our good friends' new sponsor partner, CDN Technologies. CDNTechnologies.com. Are you searching for an IT company because you're dealing with ongoing IT issues. Who isn't? Your company needs CDN Technologies, backup and recovery, IT security, IT services, and so much more. A great article you can download now on that site. The top 10 ways hackers get around your firewall and antivirus. CDN Technologies. Phil?
CDNtechnologies.com.
You know Barb. You know she's running a great company, and we're happy to have them as part of the Humble and Fred program.
We'll see her next Thursday.
Is it next Thursday? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. I didn't realize. I just heard that. I see that a few people on their social media talking about being sober for October, but I didn't know if there was some significance to October or why they're doing it this month, or do you know?
No, I don't get the point. Is it for charity?
No, I don't know.
Because what's the point if on November 1st you can start drinking again? Is it to pull
take
back?
a month off after the summer? You know, people overdo it.
Detox.
Thank you, Phil. Detox.
And then you got Movember
It's
coming.
what? I did a dry November. Sean did that. All right.
And how long did that last?
I'm sorry. I thought you said you just did a dry November. Dry February. Let's give him a microphone.
There you go.
Did you go the whole month without drinking?
Yeah, I did the whole month. And
What
it
about
was,
a smoke?
It was for charity.
Did you have
That's
a
why I
smoke?
did
Yeah,
it.
when are you doing smokeless December?
Smoke-free winter. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah?
Yeah. I am going to quit this year again because I have to
Didn't
quit
I send you
now.
to that seminar?
Yeah, and I did it, and I had quit, but I went
So you
back
went to
it.
Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking seminar,
So I know how to quit. I know I can do it. I know it's that simple.
and then you're smoking again.
And I started again, but
Smell like the inside of a cigarette butt.
You know, that's such a shame because that's such a valuable course, and to think it went to... Anyway.
it got a year and a half of,
Yeah, but that's not good
smoking
enough,
out of it.
pal. The thing is,
I know,
you're
I
of an
know.
age, one day you're going to quit, so why not just do it now? By the way, James Shanahan, he sent an email. Remember the other day I was talking about
Yes.
Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
And apparently Cillian Murphy is the guy's name, the main
Oh, the one that
character.
you were talking about smokes all the time.
Yeah, he said he did some research. He has smoked over 3,000 herbal cigarettes during that show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you mentioned in every scene
Every scene he lights a
he's
smoke.
having a cigarette. James also mentioned that we were talking about Drake and owning a $200 million plane, which,
Right.
as I mentioned, he couldn't own. He owned-
Right.
No.
But he didn't pay for it. Apparently, it came from Cargo Jet.
Yes.
It was provided for free as part of a partnership between Drake and the Canadian airliner. They covered it in unique branding such as Air Drake and OVO along the engine and fuselage, as well as prayer hands. Is that a Drake thing? Prayer hands?
Yeah.
Is that his? I don't even. You know, some people will
Pray it doesn't crash.
send me emojis I don't have access to. How do they get the super emojis?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe different phones.
like I don't have prayer hands.
You don't have prayer hands?
Oh, they're there somewhere.
That's a
Are
pretty
they?
basic one. You want
Yeah.
me to find it for
Yeah,
you?
they're there. Even I know that.
For Rosh Hashanah.
I love that. I love that. The fact that I don't have prayer hands seems to be odd. Anyway, I don't have
You
them.
haven't. Yeah, they're there.
So what he gets in return, he gets the plane, I guess, whenever he wants it.
Yep.
Huh.
What how much power do you have where you can work a deal like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
you give me the $200 million plane. I'll put my name on it, and it'll be good for you.
So he travels around and posts photos to Instagram, and how many Instagram he would have tens of millions of Instagram.
Millions,
So think
yes.
about that. So he has tens of millions of Instagram followers, impressions of that plane. It's advertising.
But Howie, it's cargo jet. It's not like I'm going to phone up and buy a seat on a cargo jet.
Yeah, you are. If you're prayer hands.
No, know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's
It's an old
exactly-
one. It's an old one. It came from the ashes of Canada.
No, but
3000.
what good is that for cargo jet? Because
Yeah.
his fans aren't going to do business with cargo
Well,
jet.
some of them might. Hey,
Yeah,
we're talking
maybe.
about cargo jet right now.
How many guys that would?
14.
No, but it's true. It's not American Airlines. It's not Air
It's a
Canada.
disconnect there.
It's not JetBlue.
Well, hey,
It's a
Sorry.
pretty old plane.
Okay,
though.
so the two of you have basically kiboshed the whole deal.
How dare you.
That
No.
some people at the
no,
Drake
but he's
found-
right. Like I because it's like who's buying cars?
Well, how can he? Hang on. How could he be right? Because the deal is
Right.
done. They must have seen some value in it.
there is. I was just going to say that. I question it because there seems to be a disconnect, but obviously for that deal to take place, it's working for somebody.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's it's like I'm sure they had people in the room going, "Why are we doing this? What benefit will this be for us?" And somebody must have said, "With 40 million Instagram followers, we're going to get this many impressions." But I do agree. Like, how would that relate to using cargo jet for your services.
I don't know. You know what? Let's phone them and ask them. Or maybe the guy that runs cargo jet is a Drake fan.
Sure.
And it's all self-interest.
See,
Or
that's
maybe
what
they
I was
happen to
thinking.
have a plane available. It's just simple as that. It costs money even to store the plane inside the hangar, right? So
Well, yeah, but
why not just
it
give
costs
it to
more
Drake?
money to run it than store it inside the hangar.
That's true.
Anyway, this is apparently a contentious issue here on the show.
It's only been since May that
Yes.
he's done this, apparently.
And I can't imagine that he has access. He probably has to call up and say, "Okay, I need the plane for this trip." It's not parked in his garage.
It's
And they're probably reusable stickers that they put on
It
it.
That's right. Use it like the sticker you people. They sticker you that plane.
You know,
That's what they
Hey,
do.
don't
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah, they can do
This
it.
is it was launching their B767 300F. That's why that was part of their launch.
There they go.
Yeah. Well, what you and I should do, we should scoop in now. Well, the getting's good, and work out a deal to have a Humble and Fred Dash 8 or whatever that thing is, Max
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
No,
Humble and Fred Max 8. No,
It'll be Humble and Fred's biplane.
They party with him. I'm reading this here.
Yeah,
That's
people
what it is.
party.
We have a lengthy relationship with him, and it's grown organically. So they were all hanging out.
yeah, the Humble and Fred Max 8, and then nobody will want to come with us anywhere.
Guys, this is all fantastic. But first, let's take a break here and talk to our good friend, the retirement Sherpa, Tim Niblett. Are you standing by, sir?
I am sitting by. Good morning, everybody.
There's Tim Niblett, everybody.
Can you lean in a bit there, Timmy? You sound echoey.
Pleasure, Frederick. I just actually thought of that from last week. Here we go. How about that?
Let's check that level.
At least I won't have the on and off thing like Dan does with his Skype, hopefully, this morning.
You know what we got to do? We got to when you're back in town, we got to hook you up with a snowball. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, Timmy, we're gonna get you a microphone.
Deal.
Yeah. Tim Niblett is working currently in his southern office, and we're pleased to have Tim with us. He's a portfolio manager. That's something. Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Investors Protection Fund. And Timmy, before we get to portfolio mixing, you heard us talking about going to the Bills game. What's your experience there in Gainesville?
Well, it depends on the week, of course, depends on the opponent. This week coming up, as I mentioned in the email, both top 10 teams. CBS has got it the main game. ESPN game days there. Be 90,000 people in the swamp, and the place will be lit, like the kids say. Morning, Stan.
Stan's freaking out. Somebody's trying to come and...
He's really freaking out.
yeah, I don't know why. I have no idea who that is. Do you?
Sorry about that, Tim.
You're
No
saying
worries.
how many...
Randy Taylor.
Commenting on
Oh, it's
Amanda's
Randy
haircut.
Taylor.
I'm sorry. Anyway, Tim, I know you made reference in your email because I had said going to Buffalo Bills game is something I would never do again. What you're about to do, if I'm down in Florida on a holiday, you talk me into going to a game like that, I would do it just because it would be a new experience. So that sounds like it would be a lot of fun in Gainesville this weekend.
Well, except what's the convenient factor? Like from your place, Tim, to the football game. Like, how do you get there? Is there parking for? Like, it's 90,000 people is like a town. Like that's a small city.
Yeah, it does get pretty full. About 2 hours drive from door to door for me. I do have parking pass this year at a place about 15-minute walk away, which is kind of good when you're doing all your tailgating. A little walk doesn't hurt. And hey, it's just part of the process. There's just lots of people there, but then there's lots of energy as well. So it's great. We're gonna stay for a couple of nights there too, both Friday and Saturday night. There's some boys from Toronto coming down, a few Glencairn boys, and a couple of Florida guys. So there'll be 8 of us in total.
Nice.
That'll be fun. One thing I've noticed, I've been to a few Michigan games, the Wolverines, and how generous all those tailgate people are. It's unbelievable. You walk down, you say hello, they offer you a sandwich, a beer. It's crazy. It's just a great community, a great atmosphere, that stuff. So I know why you're going.
Let's talk about portfolio mixing. What is a 60-40 portfolio, and explain this minus? Does 100 minus your age for portfolio mix matter anymore? What is that exactly?
So for a long time, it was felt that if you're 70 years old, you should have 30% stocks because 100 minus 70 equals 30. So it's just a way of, as you get older, it's felt that to have more stocks is more conservative. That's probably not correct currently. But, when you think about longevity, certainly inflation matters. Thankfully, it's low currently. But the average 70-year-old is going to live a hell of a lot longer than they used to decades ago, right? So that's just a metric that's past its time, I'd suggest.
So it was, if you were 70, you would have 30% stocks and 70% what?
Bonds,
right? Safer
the
stuff,
downside.
safer, right?
Yeah. So that's where the 60-40 comes from. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. For decades and decades, it has worked fairly well for people, creating opportunity, minimizing downside. But it's kind of like you guys were just talking about, after a good or a bad golf shot, you got to look forward. And looking forward, that's probably not going to be nearly as effective in the next couple of decades.
Well, and not only that, but we're in an era where bonds and that, they're not paying very well. Right?
They haven't paid well for a while.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. The interest rates are so low now. Kind of interestingly, as they continue to drop, the long-term treasury bonds, it actually puts the value of the previous ones up, right? Inverse relationship, interest and value. So there has been a little bit of a juice, but yeah, probably not much more to come. And again, in a low interest rate environment, investors have to look past those normal solutions to create the returns they need.
So if we've often said this about Tim's expertise and acumen. Even if you've already got a portfolio advisor, sometimes it's good to have somebody else have a look at it. Get Tim to do that. A lot of Humble and Fred people over the last few years have done that. Tim will have a look at your stuff, no charge, and no pressure as well. Just give him a second look. Tim.niblet@raymondjames.ca. These are the kind of things Tim will be talking to you about.
And there's no better. There is no better. We know that. You know that.
So, Tim, will we see you again anytime soon? Are you coming back to Canada?
Yes, I am. I'm back Monday, so I'll look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday morning. Have you guys chosen a date for the H&F 30 party? Because I've got to book some flights for December.
Well, we have. Fred's not sure if we're still doing it. Me and Barker had a meeting the other day.
No, I was here, and then I remember we decided to at least reach out to some people.
Yeah, we're going to do something.
Yeah.
December 12th is the day we're looking at.
I will try to work that in there. If I can have a few more seconds, my day started off with an email from a client that I've been helping out. They're going to be moving actually out of the country, and so we've been dealing with some things. And she finishes off the email by saying, "We both wholeheartedly agree that you're the best, Tim. Not only do you rock in terms of investment decisions, but you're a good friend who considers a big picture for us. No one has ever done that, helped us in any way. Given the kind of guidance and insight you do, we appreciate you enormously." So suffice it to say, that was a nice way to start my day off this morning.
Well, isn't that lovely? And
I'm going to cry.
Easy now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right, Tim. Nothing else to add. There you have it. What an endorsement. Tim.niblet@raymondjames.ca.
See you, Timmy.
All right, Timmy. Enjoy yourself.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Phil.
Enjoy and prosper. Bye, Tim.
Bye, guys.
No, I thought you were gesturing something there. I thought you wanted me to.
Oh, no.
All right. Are we having because that's not on the schedule, but are we having RT on the show?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday.
We did?
At 8:30, remember?
We did?
Yes.
I'm on. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
That's a tough one for me yesterday. All right.
Is Bill coming too?
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, we had that conversation not 24 hours ago.
All right.
Yeah.
Randy Taylor, old friend of the show. Bill Hayes, broadcast legend. A couple broadcast legends and the Humble and Fred show. Who would have thunk it? We'll take a break. We're live for the first time since 2005 around Southern Ontario on Canada's comedy superstation, Funny 820, around the world each and every day. Go check it out at humbleandfredradio.com.
Son of a bitch, give me a drink. One more night, but it's camping me. Son of a bitch, if I drink it clean.
Israel's.
There you go.
You gotta make
No,
sure
it's
that they stamp on a separate.
Probably do a commercial break. I didn't even start that.
So when I went to
Why
Cuba, when
is, so
they
why
stamped
did
the
this
passport, I'm like,
feed? Oh, because it's back in break.
So
there's
when
no problem.
they're going to be doing, remember, they're going to
Who
be
told that to get
is
Israel
fucking
stamped
dumb.
on a
want to use the
passport?
thing. And it's
So
about
if you
and I
do,
told
you'll
you
be banned
American
from some
politics.
countries.
Really?
Yeah, we had that. I remember that part. I just didn't realize it was today. Or yeah, maybe.
With Israel.
Are they going to rent the studio or
you
we'll
get an
just give
Armenian
it to them?
stamp.
No.
Azerbaijan will
Film.
If you go to
They pay for it.
Azerbaijan, you get an
And they
Armenian
agreed.
stamp.
And Randy said, if it gets up
Yeah,
to
I remember that
they'd be
part.
more than happy to give us money for this.
Can't
Yep.
do a
I got a funny story if we're going to talk about bees. I got stung on my tongue yesterday.
Okay, we're definitely going to talk about that.
That's crazy.
on my tongue.
I don't know if it was a bee or a wasp, but
Oh, it's probably a wasp.
and I took a beekeeping course at the University of Guelph. I know a lot about bees.
I took
Oh,
a
I
beekeeping
can't
course
wait.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wait for that.
Don't
It
we
was
know a
3
listener
days.
who is
It
a
wasn't very
beekeeper?
long,
or-
but-
Oh, I took the.
Amanda,
It was like
how are
a.
you?
I'm good. I'm looking up who refused me entry with an Israeli stamp.
Most neighbors, unfortunately. So what they'll do is Israel will give you a card, and then it's like a visa that they stamp on, and then you just keep the card. That's all.
You can go to Jordan,
This
Egypt,
is
Oman,
the garden at the
UAE
place I
with a-
cut grass.
But it's more.
So we were
it's
just
because
walking
of the
around
relations
eating
with Israel,
raspberries.
Like Qatar, for example.
A huge
Qatar
tons of
and
raspberry
Israel
bushes
are-
everywhere.
So here's
Wow.
the ones you can't go.
Awesome garden.
Iran,
Who's that guy?
Iraq,
That's the guy I work for.
Afghanistan, Lebanon, Syria, Libya, Kuwait.
Amazing.
Malaysia. You can't go to Malaysia.
How
with
beautiful
Israel
that
stamp.
is.
Forgot about that. There's
What are you
a
showing me? Where you
regulation
got
So,
they've
yeah,
had for like
that's-
40 years.
We were just walking around
ironically,
eating them, and I
if
was
you
just
have
throwing them in
Israel
my mouth
passport,
off the
you're banned
branch,
from
and it
Malaysia.
must have
Well,
had
high
a bee
heels
on it
and
as I
backpack
threw it in my
doesn't
mouth.
make
That's
sense.
fucking
Just
wild.
immediately like, ow.
You could have been
It's
killed.
hilarious. I'm just like, why? There's a sign that says if you have an
So I
Israeli
should not get an
passport,
Israeli stamp in my passport.
don't go to Malaysia. I'm like, what? What's wrong with your? You're 50% Chinese.
But I
don't
love my
understand you.
stamps. I love my passport stamp.
But they'll just put it on a card so you can bring it home with you.
Oh really?
Yeah, no worries about that. It's just like Cuba when they had that embargo still, right? When they were worried about our passports, they stamp on a separate sheet and then you just bring the sheet home with you.
Federal election is on October
But,
21st.
So my suggestion is don't go to South Korea or Australia or Hong Kong or Macau because they don't stamp anything anymore.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Maybe I should go to Cuba then.
Like my friend Leanne who's in Singapore right now, she just found out that Singapore will not stamp you out. She goes,
I've been to Cuba, blah, blah, blah.
Goes in and out
How
of
many
it.
times have I been there? A couple times. It's okay. I mean, it's really nice people. And Havana is something to see.
I agree with that.
But
Did you stay
what?
in Veradero ever?
Yeah.
You like it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love it'll be 2 years in March.
It's not
I heard the
amazing.
food sucks.
Not where I was.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Where were you? Do you remember?
It's a bit
Malia?
samey.
No, but
Paradisus.
Yeah, I've been to Paradisus.
Paradisus,
Yeah.
there's a Paradisus for families and one with no kids.
Right.
I went to the no kids version.
Um,
It was good.
They're fine. Like the food isn't the best. I've always found the food okay.
Yeah.
But for something to see, going to Havana
Yeah.
is pretty
Is
interesting.
that a day trip to
Yeah.
Havana?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like going to Europe. It's like a European city.
It's
You wouldn't
really-
stay in Havana.
No.
You
could.
can.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, so for your purposes, you may want to stay at a. You want to go to
They have a hop on,
resort?
hop off for $5.
I hate resorts, but for a week.
Yeah, it's nice and warm and it's cheap.
Clem had a daydream from heaven. Picked up the headline, his country was made up of singers. And no more right-wingers. He wakes up to homeless are stupid, welfare is stupid, private.
And welcome back, everybody. It's the Humble and Fred Show. Randy Taylor, Bill Hayes joining us about a half an hour from now. A couple of veteran broadcasters that have done very well for themselves. This Randy Taylor fella is like, what's he do again?
He's very positive.
Yeah, he's a coach. He's good. Is what he is. He is a motivational speaker. That's the phrase I was trying to come up with. He does that stuff.
Speaking of coaches, I see on Andrew Shearer's resume he was coach of the Leafs once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said that to somebody yesterday. I
Went
said,
to the playoffs.
You got to be fair, right? We hammered Justin, so we've got to be fair.
Well, you said, it's like, you're dealing with a dweeby white guy when he's pretending to have been an insurance agent.
yeah, that's right. Sort of what you said. Yeah, there's a Canadian scandal for you.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. he pretended to sell insurance to people.
God. Trump wants to shoot immigrants in the knees, right?
That's right.
And our guy wants to claim he was an insurance.
Would you like me to get you whole life or term? Are you sure you're qualified? I don't know.
Well, trust me.
That Andrew Scheer character, I don't know if he's really an insurance agent.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
It was so great.
I know.
Oh, our guy pretended to sell insurance. He's a life insurance salesman. How dare he?
He's a deductible.
I've got pictures of Andrew Scheer selling insurance in the 2000s.
Here's my pink
at a party.
Beneficiary.
Did he go in insurance face? He did. He did.
Insurance face.
Why am I playing this song? I'll tell you why. Because something I saw this morning that resonated with me. I wanted to run it by you especially, Barksy.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the trick of time. I'm trying to find this thing now. Basically, oh man, I had it right in front of me. Why do I even bother? If I said the 1990s to you, because you're a millennial. What are you, a millennial?
No, I'm Gen X.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I
I think
know.
I'm pretty firmly in the Gen
By the way,
X.
who's coming next after the millennials? Because I can't wait for that group. I can't wait for the millennials to have a group of others to hate on.
Right.
Gen Z.
Is it what?
Gen Z.
Gen Z? Okay.
Wait, okay, really? Because there's Gen Y too, but that never really caught on.
Yeah, that's like almost your era there, Amanda. Just a little
I
after.
actually might be a Gen Y.
You might be. Yeah.
So in 3 months, 1990 will be 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And this was from our friend Mike Muzzin's Facebook. I don't think this is his, but it's something he shared. And then it goes on to say, when I think 30 years ago, I think of 1970.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes more barking. And there's Bill Hayes. Look at him. Look at these legends. It's going to be weird when Randy Taylor and Bill Hayes join us. It'll be like guys with really deep voices. Yeah.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. You're going to hear what real radio guys sound like.
Oh.
Anyway, 1990, 3 months from now will be 30 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't quite think 30 years 1970, but I don't quite think 30 years ago 1990.
No. And why is that?
Like I say, it's a trick of time,
Yeah.
It's like the other day was the 47th anniversary, I think, of Team Canada, the Paul Henderson goal.
Yes.
47 years ago.
Wow.
And again, a lot of kids our age, my age, if you were into sports, that's just hard to believe that's almost 50 years ago because it's so imprinted or in your brain, like the memories that surround that. And all the things you can't remember in the last 50 years, but I can remember that vividly.
I couldn't remember that Bill and Randy were coming in from yesterday.
True.
We had a conversation. I was kind of half paying attention. I've seen Bill Hayes more in the last 3 weeks than I've seen him in the last 10 years. He looks great too.
You've lost some weight, Billy?
Yeah. He looks amazing.
I'll find it though. You tried to lose it, I hope. Yeah.
Well, no, it's true because it's funny because you get to a certain age. When you're a certain age and you lose weight, people kind of look at you like, "Are you gravely ill?
Oh, no.
Do you have something in the bowels that's not working?" Because you look
okay. You look great. Are you okay?
No,
yeah, exactly.
Listen, after 30 years, all of a sudden you decide to take this weight off. It's like, it's drastic for people.
Well, I said
that
to
haven't
Dan,
seen you.
I hadn't seen Dan in a couple months, and he came on the weekend, and I said to him, "Listen, you've got to tell me because I lost some weight because of the stomach thing." I said, "You've got to tell me if I look good or gravely ill." And I said, and I said, we have to make a pact that as we age, if one of us starts to look gravely ill and all the people around us are going, no, everything's fine. I need you to look at me and go, "You're dying." This is what's happening. Because I don't want my kids to be like, "Oh, no, Dad, it's fine. The doctor says, I'm one of those things where they don't tell you you're dying." I want to know.
Do you think you look gravely ill? No.
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 But I did lose
No,
some
he
weight.
just looks ill.
Oh, okay.
Not great, exactly.
Just
I
a
like
bit ill.
normal ill.
I'll take a little ill.
It looks like, like seasickness or something. That's all.
A bit nauseous. He looks nauseous.
Yeah, there's different
headache.
levels.
Yeah.
You look like you have dysentery, but you're not dying. You just look like you may have had.
Did you get a little dysentery?
You have
Looking
one of the
good.
Rias.
Got a glow.
Hey, listen, of the Rias,
Yeah.
as I mentioned recently, of the Rias to have, Daya is better than the Ghana.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I would assume. I don't know.
Yeah,
So the
the treatment's a
1990s.
lot easier.
Never had the gonorrhea.
Gonorrhea. Gonorrhea. Let them go.
So the Maple Leafs start their season tonight, Howard?
NHL. Do all the teams participate on opening day?
No, not necessarily. No. I don't know how many games there are tonight. There will be a full slate, but some will play tomorrow night. Some may not play till Friday or Saturday. It all depends. But the Maple Leafs host the Ottawa Senators tonight. And anticipation, the Leafs have decided to get a little dramatic with the captain thing. They will name a captain between now and game time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just at what point? Are they going to do it with pizzazz and make a big deal of it before the game, or is that player just going to skate out for warm-up wearing the C? We don't know. So the city will be on edge all day long.
And where will you
Wondering,
be
where will
when
you
the
be?
Leafs take the ice tonight and John Tavares is or isn't wearing the C?
Uh-huh. And that's what they're doing.
Now, will Matthews get an A? Does he have an A?
Probably. Last night they were speculating on, I guess it was TSN. I was watching the season preview that if it's Tavares, then Matthews, Marner, and Riley will get A's, maybe. Who knows?
And who
We'll
are they
see.
playing against?
But I'll tell you, I'm excited. I want to see how they're going to present it.
That'll be nice. Who are they playing again? you
Ottawa.
mentioned? Ottawa.
Ottawa.
They're arch rivals.
And Ottawa, I think, has 4 players that were on the Leafs last year. Will be on the Senators this year.
Right.
They did what?
There's going to be at least 4 players that were Leafs last year will be on the Senators tonight. I won't name them. Who
We're
cares?
excited to send you to see the Leafs and Montreal. It's a week. It's kind of like a couple of days in Montreal. It's a trip with our friends from Leaf Express. Very, very simply, Leaf Express. You go to leafexpresstoursport.com is the website for them. And it's quite the trip.
It is. Transportation to Montreal, luxury coach, 2 nights at a downtown Montreal hotel. Beautiful. Seats to the game, upper level, blue, gray tickets. They're fantastic. Upgrades available if you want. A city tour of Montreal is included, a post-game party. It's fantastic. You could win it. All you have to do is go to Humble and Fred Radio at humbleandfredradio.com.
Yes,
Email us.
Subject line,
Leafs in Montreal.
Leafs in Montreal.
And tell us why. In a couple of sentences, that's all. Tell us why.
Yeah, not too many sentences.
Right.
Yeah, like if you have to go see more, we don't want to read it.
Nope.
You know,
No
you know what that
rants.
is when people do that and there's posts and then it says see more. I always bail at that point.
You don't get that on emails, though, do you?
No, I'm just saying
Okay.
it. Here's a perfect one from Chris Stonos. He says, "Been married 24 and a half years, never had a honeymoon, and my wife hates hockey." This is his entry. That's great. That's all we need.
All right.
That's a good little bit right there.
And how about this one?
Let's just hang on.
Okay.
A second. Let's unpack that for a
Oh,
second.
okay. All right. All right.
I mean, listen, dude. After 24 and a half years of marriage, if a Leaf trip to Montreal is your honeymoon.
Oh, right.
Seriously. You know, no offense to tour sport, but aim higher. 24 and a half years, and you get, and, hey, honey, guess what? We're finally going to have that honeymoon we've always dreamed to. And she's like, are we going to Mallorca? He's like, no, we're going on a bus.
Yes.
To Montreal with some guys.
To see a sport.
And I get the impression she'd probably like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice entry from Chris. What about this one?
Tom Enright. My dad is a Dirty Hab fan, and I'm a Leafs fan, so we've had this rivalry our entire life. We've only been to a couple of games together, and I would love to take my dad to Montreal for the weekend, which is nice. And he signs it off. Sucking on it, Tom from Tottenham.
Should I get Tom?
That's nice.
Very nice. This is from Lauren Potty. She says, my reasons for entering are purely selfish. I deserve a vacation from all the fun I've been having. My spouse works, and then she goes on. It's too long. Anyway, she says, I do love my dog and spouse. Another selling point is I am from Sean's area.
Oh, great.
Now, to be fair, we're not going to give this away based on your stories. We're going to give them away just as a random draw, but your stories are welcome
Okay.
and entertaining, we hope.
And we also got one from our friend Earl Epstein, but he's a rich guy. Does he qualify?
Yeah, isn't he like really rich?
Yeah.
Only kidding, Earl. It's it's a democracy. It's free to anyone to enter. To enter.
So there you have it. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. And it's a great trip. It's only, what did we determine yesterday, Phil? It's like $495.
Yeah, nearly $500 for dual occupancy.
But you get 2 nights in a hotel.
Yes.
You get food. You get fun. It's a great. You get tickets to the game. There's parties before.
That's
There's
really great.
It really is good.
$500. That's
So
great.
there you go. Toursport.com. Amanda Barker's here, so let's not waste her. You're going to go to Israel. This was the topic now.
Yeah.
You might be going to Israel.
Yeah.
Constantinople.
Yeah, hopefully a little bit
Istanbul
of Istanbul and
yeah.
a little bit of Constantinople.
And what is a lot of people are talking about this on Twitch this morning.
Okay.
Why is it so difficult to go to Israel and travel to other?
Well, I'm just learning this, that there's a lot of countries that apparently if you have an Israeli stamp in your passport, they won't allow you entry.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
I can't wait till Jesus gets back and puts this whole thing right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm not, I don't really know the Bible. I wasn't really raised with a Bible. So I don't really know about Galilee and Nazareth and what all those things are. I know their words that I hear in Christmas songs sometimes. So that'll be interesting to kind of do a little.
If you're on a hop on, hop off in Jerusalem or wherever, how do you know what they're telling you is the truth?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like if a lot of our biblical stories, how do you know exactly whether that really happened? Like if it's World War II or something in London, you know what happened. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering how that works.
Well, there's some geographical, historical landmarks that are indisputable that are referenced in the Bible. Like, they go over there. That's where Jesus was born.
Right, Nazareth.
Like the manger.
Or no, Bethlehem.
So do you get to hop off at the manger?
Yeah, you get off the manger, and then you go into the manger gift shop.
Oh, don't kid
Bring me
yourself.
something.
You go to awayinatamanger.com.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's
Order your
good.
myrrh.
I'll bring you back little baby Jesus.
Yeah, little baby Jesus. You can get them chocolate Jesus figurines.
Now, what about the site of the crucifixion? Do they know exactly where that was?
That's a touchy subject.
It's right beside the Walmart.
No, I don't know.
It's right beside the Walmart.
Probably some random location
right.
like that.
Crucifixion Mall.
Rising again, but not in prices.
That's right. How do we keep these prices so low? We crucify them.
Roll on your back.
Crucify him. Crucify them.
These prices.
Yeah. It's just
Oh man, I don't know if Hamilton can handle this today.
that whole bus trip. I'd have a raised eyebrow.
I don't know that I'm going to do a bus trip. I'll probably rent a car and you'll never see me again, guys.
No. What you do what the Israelis do is rent a camel. You go to Hertz, rent a camel.
All right. Okay.
I'd like to see the burning bush, but they probably got rid of it. It's all charred, right? All that kind of stuff.
Probably not burning.
Firebush.
I don't even.
Firebox.
I don't know what that is other than.
Neither do I. I just heard about it.
Other than my own.
In the Old Testament, or as we call the original, there's a story there about Moses went and talked to a bush, and the bush burned for a while and spoke back to Moses.
What, really?
Yeah. That was up on Mount Sinai where he was given the 10 Commandments. Have you not seen the movie?
I had my myomectomy there.
Let my people go, said...
It's pretty much impossible to talk to a bush today. You know what I'm saying?
No. You
They
can't.
were bored. They didn't have Netflix.
Now what he means because there's no bush around anymore.
I see.
No, it's coming back. I hear.
Joseph, hey, did you hear Moses was talking to a landing strip? Just a little... What? Yeah, a burning landing strip.
Moses was Brazilian. We all know that.
Yeah, anyway. See, I don't think these two ex-broadcasters have actually heard the show before, and they're like, oh, this is what they do.
Oh, boy.
This is why no regular radio station will have them. But I don't know. If I were a commuter, I'd want to hear this.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is talking about regular crap.
We're doing a tight Israeli
We're doing a type
5.
25.
Have you
on Israel?
Have you been there?
To Israel?
Yeah.
No.
Even though, as a Jewish boy, you've been offered many free trips, apparently, or something.
Jewish
Isn't
boy
there
from
something?
the prairies, yeah.
Wasn't there a free thing for you?
There's called,
Offer all the time?
the Heritage. What's it called?
Birthright.
Birthright trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you jump on that?
Well, in the age that I was eligible for the birthright, I think
not.
it's only up to a certain age.
Oh.
I was making my way in the world. I was out there in California.
He was busy.
My brother's daughter Zoe, she did the birthright trip.
Our
Should we
phone
try the
line
phone?
sucks.
I know. Let's try. Let's see. Hi, who's this?
Hey, so my name's Howard. I've been looking to call in for a long time, and I just heard stuff on the radio, so I thought this is a good time.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So, long-time listener. Guys, look, Howard, my name's Howard. What religion do you think I am?
I'm sorry. What, your name's Howard, and then what was the part?
That's right. My name's Howard. So, I'm Jewish as well.
Of course you're Jewish. Your name's Howard.
That's what he
Yeah,
was
okay.
Of course. So, look, where was Christ crucified? I know that. It was on Golgotha,
Okay.
which is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem,
All right.
right?
Okay.
Never heard of
You guys
it.
know that?
Well, no, I mean, no offense, other Howard, but no, I didn't, I didn't know that. But even if I did, Crucifixion Mall is way funnier. And Howard, if you're a real Jew, you know that the reason we're here is just to be silly and funny and not factual. We don't want the facts to get in the way of comedy.
Hey, facts can't get in the way of a real story, right?
Right, exactly, Howard.
Or in the way of comedy.
Hey, Howard, what year were you born?
62.
Yeah, there you go. The 1960s were the Howard heyday. Lots of Howards in the seriously there was, and then we just died out.
That's interesting.
We did. Well, I'm not dead yet, and neither are you.
I know. Well, listen, my friend. Happy New Year, Shana Tova,
man.
and thanks for thinking of us this morning.
And for calling in.
No
Thanks, Howie.
problem. Good to probably call and keep up good work.
Thanks, my friend.
Thanks,
There's
pal.
Howard.
This is good work.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We Howards have very low standards.
my son went to Israel for a job, and he loved it.
Yeah?
He just loved it.
I've heard it's amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm
Just
excited.
every part of it he loved. The restaurants, the downtown area there, and wherever he was.
Tel Aviv. Yeah.
The
that's where I'm going.
beaches.
Apparently they're great.
Yeah.
I want to go float in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we've got cousins from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I do, and I've been asked that over my lifetime. Both of my brothers were there. My older brother spent a year there on a kibbutz.
Oh, wow.
I think Steven spent maybe not quite that much time as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's lived there for almost a year. I just have no desire. Of all the places I think I need to go to before, maybe later, because I'm sort of have a bit of a biblical interest. But
It's interesting with me because you fit the profile of somebody who would love to travel, and you do travel, but not there's lots of places I feel like you're like, meh, I'm good, which is interesting to me that, because I'll be like, oh, well, have you been there? No, I haven't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm running out of places.
Are you?
Yeah, only because, one thing I've noticed about travel, and I think you've said this before too, I've traveled to a lot of places, but at the end of the day, a lot of places it's just building and everybody living their lives like we do. Especially, I think, as the world gets older, as each year goes by, the world becomes smaller as far as everybody's on their phone no matter where I go. And they're sitting in cafes, they're sitting in restaurants.
Yeah.
And, an old building in one city to me is really no different than an old building in another city. I've had my fill of it.
And for that reason, I often reference Marco's podcast, which is brilliant, which is every place is the same.
It is.
I mean, listen, I could list the 20 countries I've been to, but there are some places like I haven't been to Greece, would love to go. Haven't been to Italy, would love to go. I've been to Europe a bunch of times.
But see, when you say Greece, I would say don't even go to Athens because it's
I'd like to go to
every-
Corfu.
No, or where I was, Santorini. It's a beautiful, it's hotels cut into the side of a mountain, and it's a whole different culture.
Oh, yes.
That's travel,
Yeah.
But for some, I mean, when I think about Israel and I have to go because I'm Jewish, it doesn't really resonate with me. Whereas it did with my brothers in the early 70s. It was what a lot of kids did, Jewish and non-Jewish. They would go to the Middle East, and it was an experience. And just by the time I came along, I was like, that just wasn't in the cards.
And that's almost spiritual, right? If you have it or you don't. There's something within you wants to do it for a particular reason, and you didn't.
I tell you where I would want to go before that. There's so many places, but one of them is somewhere in Asia. I really have more of I'd like to go to Korea. I want to go to Japan.
Love Korea. You would love Korea.
You know what I mean? I want to do that
That's
before I
fair.
go that way.
I get that.
Yeah, like I've been to Italy and France and England and all that stuff, and everybody's say going to Spain. It's like, you know what? Yeah, but I think I would rather do something outside the box before I did that.
Cambodia,
and having been to, but I've been to Spain, and I was in the south of France recently, and the south of France and the north of Spain very similar topography. But having said that, what I would like to do once all this is over is go live someplace for a while.
Oh,
that
nice.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where you don't just go visit. You sort of that's what you do for the winter.
Where do you want to go?
Well, that's what I mean. Maybe I'll go to
Bob Cajun.
Bob Cajun for the winter.
Great. Get a good
Anyway,
deal.
because I know we're losing you in 3 or 4 minutes. Barker's here. You got to know that she's lovely.
Oh,
She got a
that's
top
nice.
knot going on today.
Yeah, rock
Has
it.
she ever been more adorable? No. This is it. This is
This is my weekend hair.
Is it really?
Yeah. This is my in my jammies hair.
Okay. You wanted to weigh in with something?
Bees.
Are you gonna do bee? Are we doing bees now?
I was just gonna say, because you got the mic there. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, you going to Israel would be the same as, like, I've been to the Vatican, and like I was raised Catholic, so that was kind of like my going back to where the Pope is, the heart center of the religion. So I mean, I didn't really learn a whole lot there, but it was like cool to actually be there. It wasn't really a necessary trip, but I don't know.
Yeah,
You should check out Israel. That'd be cool.
Have you been to the Vatican?
I have.
You don't know? I
I
think
have.
That would be
I have
interesting.
too.
The artwork and stuff and all the sculptures is cool.
Actually, I was in the Pope's address. We were there on a Sunday, and he came and did a whole address. It was really fun.
Ooh. While wearing a
Took
dress.
lots of photos and lots of selfies, and he's
That's
like,
right.
yeah.
While wearing a dress, the
Really?
Pope addressed the crowd.
Yeah.
Anything religious sort of creeps me out. I was there, but
Yeah. I don't. It doesn't do anything. I don't have any of that. So.
to stand there, what is it? St. Peter's Square? What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. To stand in there, it's pretty cool. It's historic. And
A whole separate country within
Yeah.
walls.
Cool to see the Pope. I had drank about 10 espressos that morning. That's all I did was just
What
drink
Pope
espressos.
was it? This one?
This one.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
This Pope?
Francis.
Is that his name?
That's
Pope Francis?
Yeah.
Frankie?
He's people like him generally.
Not Ben, right? Benedict?
Not bad. No, I wasn't there for the German dude. What were we talking about? Bees?
We don't really have a whole lot of time for bees right now. Bees are important. Well, we can do this at the end.
Okay.
Do you have anything to say about bees?
I love bees. I'm a big fan of bees. I get honey everywhere. I'm doing my Arkansas honey right now. I get honey every place I go. I will bring back Israeli honey.
What's the name? Like, if you're a wine expert, you're a sommelier. If you're a honey person, what are you then?
I don't know. Let's
Yeah,
make it up.
Let's figure it out. You're
I got nothing.
I got nothing either.
Yeah. it was like buzzy,
Buzzy.
pollinier.
Pollinaire.
They were concerned about the bees going away, but I'll tell you, based on my hydrangeas this year,
They've been out
they
of
were
control.
back.
Sean
Yeah.
got stung in the tongue.
Yeah.
I got stung in the tongue yesterday.
Sean got stung in the tongue by a bee.
One in the
Probably
tongue.
not a bee.
One in
So
the tongue.
it was.
Oh,
You didn't make out with him.
But, and it only stung once, so I feel like I was maybe, I was eating raspberries off the bush, and I think there was one
That's not
on
a
the
Georgetown
raspberry.
euphemism, is it? So last night, me and my gal got together. I'm eating raspberries off the bush, and I get stung in the tongue by a bee. What does that even mean?
What's happening? Is there a spit roast involved?
I'm gonna
What's
unpack
going on?
anything.
Burning
today.
bush?
Yeah, no, I got stung on the tongue. It was that's never happened before.
Well,
but
if you're at raspberries, yes, it probably was a big bumblebee, was it? Because
It
wasps
could have
are
been,
bad
yeah.
now too.
70 out of 100 food groups are directly affected
Wow.
by bee pollination
Wow.
on this planet. Albert Einstein said it years ago. When the bees go, we've got about 4 days to live. I'm paraphrasing.
Did you?
close enough.
3, actually.
We gotta take a break here. Thank you, Amanda.
Bye.
All right. Coming up in a couple minutes, a couple veteran broadcasters. And we're going to find out what they're up to. Randy Taylor is a longtime friend of the show, now a motivational speaker and coach with business. Bill Hayes has been a broadcast legend in this town longer than you've had a radio. And we're gonna talk to these fellas about their new podcast, Fred.
Yes, another podcast. But this one will be a gooder.
And just hang around. We'll be back. It's Humble and Fred Radio on Funny 820 and at humbleandfredradio.com.
every time I look at you.
So when is it you're going to? When is it you're going to?
You'd have managed better if you had it planned. Now why'd you choose such a backward town in such a strange land? Don't get it wrong. Someday you could have reached the
You know who I want to be? You know, I don't want. You know who I want to be in this? I want to be one of the. I did.
I played Simon Zealot, and I played who's like the army guy.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy.
I was.
We are here. Much time. Probably we need him crucified. Oh, we need him crucified.
Boys.
Howard, thank you. This is Randall. This is my brother.
Howard, I see you made the cut.
I did make the cut, Bill.
It wasn't easy after that.
Things got chaotic after that, Bill. Ready?
Yeah.
Redman, when we come back, we got to do chamber plan. Anywhere you want. Sean. Yeah. All right, boys. These might just keep them off because you till we're done. Just put them in. You know how to work.
Well, you want the handheld? Is that what you're saying?
No, these guys.
Okay. Oh, I see. So we need to actually listen.
Yeah, they'll just turn it on once it's there. But,
Bye, Amanda.
See ya.
So, guys, we're gonna come back. We'll probably chew up most of the last part of this thing. If for some reason it feels like we've exhausted, just in case that happens, I'll say, hey guys, thanks for coming in, and there'll be an awkward moment where you're not sure if you should get up and go back. But that'll happen. May not. All right.
I'll probably still sleep. Too old to get up.
Yeah, it's a lot of work getting up. I know.
We're on the show now. We're not leaving.
So there you go. And Freddie, we'll do that. We'll do that stuff right away. And I think we covered the leaf thing. I think we've covered everything. No, it's good. And Phil,
are you still doing
can I
news?
grab a
stuff
decaf?
I haven't been there in a while. Probably around Christmas again.
What's that?
Ben Dixon the following
Thank you. So do you.
Now, you know,
I'm
the
not
thing
doing
about
an
old
awful
guys
lot
is,
of
as you know,
The first 50 years would beat the shit out of yourself.
yeah,
And
it's
then
the
the
weight,
department's got a
real
No, thanks.
indication of age.
Pardon
Thank
me?
you, fellas.
She does real estate, so
I
I
find
help
that
her.
guys are.
Oh, your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really fucking ages.
It does.
Yeah, it's all good.
I mean, the eggs and
5.5
But I'm and
years
just
probably.
visually, I mean, I'm from all the years
The
of
half
golf,
is
but
kind
I
of
just noticed that a lot of the guys I hang with, they're sort of like
available
this.
around January 17th.
Is that Brian's
Good.
kid?
So you
Brian's
start
got two
seeing
little
really
girls.
fat.
Already? Yeah.
Yeah, and my oldest
Yeah,
daughter
I mean,
has
they
3
made
kids,
it
and
was
my
like
youngest
in the
is
80s,
pregnant
but
with her
It's
first.
not
Oh,
gonna be.
good.
the last
How about you?
25 years, it just.
I just have the two.
You gotta be, you're not.
My daughter lives in Georgetown. My son lives in the city. He's 34 and
I'm
single.
16,
And,
James.
pardon me?
How's he doing?
You know
My
what?
son?
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
Because
Yeah.
Because he was up in
never
Houston,
really
right?
bothered me.
No, that was me.
Because,
But I thought he was up there
you know,
too.
you
No,
would
no.
think
My
it's
son
gonna be
is
certain
a
way.
freelance
Yeah.
videographer, producer, editor.
Oh, well, I misunderstood him.
Yeah.
I didn't really.
I thought he was doing this.
Well, yeah, because you
I knew
think of
you were
60
there,
when
but I
you're a
thought you
kid.
were
It's
there
fucking
too.
No, no,
so
no.
Oh my
old.
God.
No,
It's
he's
the
a
oldest
city
thing in the
boy.
world.
He's very busy all the time.
It's just, exactly. Just take a ticket like at
Oh,
a
he
deli.
likes it because,
I have kids.
you know, he turned down jobs at Rogers and Bell, which is good because he would have got laid
so,
off.
yeah,
And
I
now,
really lost.
Rogers and Bell, all they do is hire freelancers so they don't have to pay them. They hire him.
So you got married again.
So he works for both of them now.
It's crazy.
And you have young kids. That's
But
crazy.
and you
How
know
old are
the
your
funny thing
original
is,
kids?
you know, he could have worked at Rogers or something for $60,000 a year
Wow.
and worked 9 to 5. Now Rogers will fired all those people, the independent producers. They're producers. They'll phone him and pay him outrageous money for one day.
In this month.
Because they figured that over the year, right, they're saving money.
He's in advertising. And my other daughter is 21.
So, like his day rate's way more than he would have
Going to
made
film school.
in a day at Rogers.
I wanted her
And
nowhere
Bell
near the
hires him
business,
too.
but
It's like
Yeah,
amazing.
you can do either one. It doesn't matter.
yeah, I know. It was just the last thing I wanted her to do.
He's just got to do his own accounting and all that. But you
This
know,
whole gig economy is crazy.
I didn't tell you when I saw you the last couple of times because I was in another mode, but you know, your son, is that his son that you love?
yes.
Yeah, he fucking talks about him all the time.
Oh, I
Like-
saw him last night.
Oh, hang on a second here, fellas.
We had our
Talks to you? That's good.
Oh, I talk to him every day, but I saw him last night.
Oh, I got it, Bill.
And I know she'll be the death of me, at least we'll both be numb. And she'll always get the best of me, the worst is yet to come. But I just can't stand the way I feel. I just can't wait until tomorrow comes.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Humble and Fred Radio on Canada's Comedy Superstation, Funny 820, and around Southern Ontario and a bunch of other Bell properties. And we're pleased to have you guys with us. Of course, you can always download past shows, thousands of hours of archived nonsense at humbleandfredradio.com. And recently, we've taken the plunge. You can watch this show live on Twitch TV. Ask your kids what that is. It's the 750 million subscriber gaming channel that is now being used by podcasters and broadcasters. And what's really interesting, too, is that we also run it on Facebook, and we're getting a couple thousand views doing that. Well, there you go. Before we get to our guest this morning, let's talk about our good friends at the Chamber Plan.
Well, the official name, Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan. Go to chamberplan.ca and find out how you can have great benefits for your small company, meaning a company 1 to 100 employees. Oh, yeah, it's all there. Canada's #1 plan for small business. 30,000 Canadian businesses part of this now. They've been around for 40 years. Very simple to sign up. It's stable because of the numbers, 30,000 businesses. Oh, yeah, it's stable. And the smart thing to do, again, for your employees, they have dental and medical insurance, a whole list of products that you'll be impressed with. Chamberplan.ca.
As always, we invite you to use Cannabis Better with a free Strain Print companion app. Strainprint.ca. The app's downloaded for free, Apple or Google Play. Strainprint.ca. Thousands and thousands of strains available. And everyone processes this drug differently. That's why the Strain Print app was created. We've talked a lot about this recently, about different people, patients around the world using this to find the best efficacy for pain relief, inflammation, arthritis, any number of things. Strain Print has hundreds of thousands of data points, and now you can have access to it. Strainprint.ca. What are you doing? Are they not sitting close enough together? Is that your issue? We have our Twitch producer trying to produce our guest this morning, and yeah, these two guys really have no interest in being seen any more than we do.
Radio, Howard.
Yeah, that's right. Any more than we do. I don't know. By way of introduction, we've hinted at a couple of guys that we've worked with, both, although never at the same time. I can just say that in my entire radio career, there were only a few guys along the way whose voices intimidated me just by hearing them open their mouths and say something. And two of them are here today. Very smart, delightful, talented broadcasters. Please welcome Bill Hayes and Randy Taylor, everybody.
Isn't that
That's what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Where's all the enthusiasm?
We got a lot to live up to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's way too much pressure. Yeah.
I did a morning show with Randy Taylor before I did with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Back in the day at CFNY, Freddie
Just put it
and
right
I,
in front of your lips there, pal.
Freddie and I worked together for about 3 months while they were looking, and then I got banished back to afternoons, and Howard came in, and that was it.
I remember I hadn't quite moved here yet, or maybe I had, but my girlfriend and I and Fred and Delise and you and your wife at the time.
Yeah.
I think you took us on. Didn't we go on a cruise, or we went on a boat?
We did. We went.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, there was some kind of. I don't really remember what it was all about, but
it was like a get to know you. Yeah.
It was actually it was a cruise set up. Who was the PD back in the day?
Danny Kingsbury.
Yeah, Kingsbury. So I think Kingsbury set up the boat, and it was a Welcome Howard boat, because that way, we all had to stay with you because we were on the water. we were on the water.
And if you know me, I couldn't leave early. How do I get off this boat early? Yeah. And Howard, this is for you. I don't care. Get me a boat off this boat.
Yeah, that's right.
How radio has changed too, eh? The money that used to fly around. Let's have a cruise to welcome Howard.
Oh, absolutely.
That wouldn't happen nowadays.
Yeah.
So I was working with Fred, and then I went off to work with Bill, and I was working at a station called CKFM, which became The Mix, which became, I guess, Virgin. And the lineup was just crazy. It was Bill Hayes, Lee Marshall, and Dan Williamson. 3 of the best broadcasters in the business, great voices. And then there was me, and I was like this child at Des Moines. Hi, everybody, stand by. Bill Hayes.
Yeah.
Bill Hayes is coming up next. And he'd come on and go, all right, well, now there's a real
well,
man.
you're selling yourself a little short there, Howard. I got to tell you. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, that place was...
That was a great radio
station. It was a lot of
station.
fun to work at.
And you want to talk about how radio has changed. That was a day, in those days, we had you guys doing 3-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Like 9 to noon, noon to 3, 3 to 6, 6. Like it was crazy. The radio station was filled with human beings, and now radio stations, a couple of guys.
You say 3-hour shifts. Now there's 3 announcers.
Now
That's
there's
it.
3 announcers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and and then everybody in management in radio started saying, "Where's the talent?" Well, if everything is syndicated and there's nowhere for anybody to practice, I would think.
No, exactly.
Probably it's a little tough.
Yeah, where we used to be at CFNY, remember, with all the foreground programming and everything and the announcers they had, I think they're down to like 3 people.
Really?
To cover
Wow.
24 hours, yeah.
Well, and I mentioned just during the break, you guys on Twitch may have heard it, but Fred has been talking about Bill's son.
Oh yeah.
For years now. Bill's son is
Brian,
who hosts. He's on TSN. So.
Well, I'll tell you, it's probably, for my money, forget the fact that it's sports. It's probably the most entertaining talk show on radio besides this one. It's the afternoon show on TSN 1050. Brian Noodles and the O-Dog.
Right.
It's just a great, entertaining show.
I'm sorry, the name of the show isn't Brian Noodles and the O-Dog?
Well, that's who they are. The 3 of them.
Sorry.
It's Overdrive.
Now does
It's called Overdrive.
Is it
yeah.
weird for you as a dad, because we're all fathers, is it weird that Brian not only went into the business, but is a very, very good broadcaster? Is that odd?
Well, my brother's a broadcaster
I'm
too.
sorry,
He's of some renown.
You have a brother in the business?
I do. Yes.
I'm sorry.
We'll leave that be.
Yeah, are we aware of his work?
You might be.
Yeah.
But the thing with it is, because of that, Brian grew up, just that's a gig, and I think that makes a big difference, because you see it a lot in a lot of businesses where sons follow their fathers, and it's because it's not a big deal to them. They've seen
Right.
it. You know what I mean? And I think that really helped him a lot.
Well, the thing about Brian, he's very entertaining. He gets it. And I've often said this to Howard. Just because it's sports talk radio doesn't mean you can't talk about other things.
Right, and
they
they
do.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And now that McCowan's left 590, they're wiping the floor with the fan as far as afternoon entertainment goes. They just are, from my perspective. And he's smart. He's everything.
Yeah, he's got a lot
a broadcaster
Now,
needs to
does
be.
Brian know that Freddie is a
Oh yeah,
we correspond.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think with something like that, though, that that your son grew up around it all the time, and I think that happens a lot. And it's my son, the doctor, and I want him to be this. But for somebody like Billy's son, his passion obviously was there, and that's why he's as good as he is.
And
Because he loves it. He wasn't talked into this.
And he's not the only one in town.
Spot.
By the way, there's another son-parent connection. Did you know that? Marilyn Dennis.
Oh, Marilyn Dennis, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Adam Wilde is
Yep.
now the morning show guy at, is it Virgin?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think about that. So Marilyn's on Chum FM in the morning, and now she's competing with her own son in a building. Isn't it right down the hall?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's got to be bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
And he's really, I've met him. He's a good kid.
Well, the interesting thing about Brian too, he was a great hockey player, right? He played major junior A hockey.
Well, I thought he was a really good athlete all the way along.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that's the road he would take, but he always wanted to get into radio.
Which is, of course, not a criteria for radio.
Oh God, no!
Mostly it's just a bunch of fat people sitting around going, "I can't move."
Yeah,
I should mention.
So true.
I should mention this radio station's brother station in Hamilton is TSN 1150, and now Overdrive is available on that station in the afternoon as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
why don't we get the kid in here?
Because he lives out.
He's in Brooklyn.
He's out in Brooklyn. To get here in the morning would be very difficult.
Let's Skype him.
But maybe if he's on holidays and hanging around.
Sure,
one-
I'll
yeah.
talk to him about it. Absolutely, he has no problem.
Now,
with-
has he ever had you on as a guest?
Oh, I worked with him.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, I co-hosted with him several times.
At 640,
That's
right?
so cool.
Oh, and at
Yeah.
TSN.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that with one, because I have 2 daughters, both who would wipe the floor with me verbally very quickly. It's like, I always say this about my kids. It's like being attacked by piranhas you trained. They just know he's just always picking at me. Randy Taylor, you did so when I got to the Edge or the CFNY, and then you did afternoons for some time.
Yeah.
And then here's what I want to. This is where the story of these two. I want to start this. Randy moved. He was the first one of us. I want to make sure I get this right. Randy was the first one of us, our group, that moved to a talk format.
Right.
You went to News Talk 1010, and you were there for some time.
I actually started in St. Catharines.
Okay, St. Catharines first.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I went to RB, started doing some fill-in shifts, and then they offered me afternoons, and then
And I got to tell you, it was always impressive to me because at that time we were, talking for 4 or 5 minutes at a time in an era where we had to play 6 songs an hour, and believe me, we had our battles, and we would have Dave Grohl on the show, and our boss would say, "Don't forget to play your 6 songs an hour," and we would argue that having a conversation with Dave Grohl might be more interesting. Than playing Dave Grohl's songs.
I think it would be, yeah.
But we were wrong, and we had to get off in 5 minutes. When Randy got that job, and you're right, I remember listening to you in St. Catharines and thinking, wow, that's really impressive, because not a lot of music jocks, and Bill's one that made the transition, but you were the first that I knew that did it. And I was always so impressed by that. And then when you got to the RB, I'm like, wow, there's a whole other world that this guy is able to handle.
Plus, you did it by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of talk shows now, it's 2 people. Even if it's not, it might be a marquee person, but there's always another support person there to throw stuff off.
The caveat to that being said, Mario Carlucci, who was my producer at the time at CFRB, and you guys know what it's like to have the people helping you in the background to be setting up the interviews and booking the guests and doing all those things. And with live radio and being at CFRB, it's a big station. So if you're on a hot topic and you've got a good guest on and the phones are lit up, you don't need a team of people. You already have them, right? But you can throw your producer on, you can throw the guest on, you can take a call.
It's when the phones aren't ringing.
Yeah,
that you have problems.
that's painful.
And Bill, I would say the same about you, because you were a guy in this town for a long time, a music jock, playing rock jock over intro songs, and then all of a sudden you morphed into something different.
Well, I've got a story about what Randy's just saying, and actually what Fred mentioned. I knew Nelson Millman. Because I'd been in Vancouver for a short period of time. He'd been the production manager there, and I did a lot of spots. So I went in and met him and said, yeah, I'd like to get into sports talk after I left Mix at the time. And he let me do it. And I went in like 11 at night till 1 in the morning, which is graveyard of all graveyards. And I had reams of stuff because I was prepared for it. First day, maybe second day too, got a lot of calls and got through it. Because you can always riff off a phone call. The third day, in 2 hours, I got 2 calls. I must have lost 10 pounds. Because you got to talk. You got nobody else there, and you got to come up with stuff. And once I got through that, I went, I can do this. That was the key.
We worked for a guy, I really liked him. Pat Holliday was a
Love
boss.
Pat. I just saw him.
Yeah, Pat's a great guy. And he was a rock jock, sort of a music guy. Rockin', yeah. And Pat always said that music jocks, all of them could do one show. He said, everyone's got one talk show in him. He says, what you do on day 2.
Yeah.
Because, this isn't for everybody. Fred and I fought this for a long time, and I said this to the podcast listeners will know I've said this before, but, we always thought we could do this, and at least the last 8 or 9 years has proven to us that we could have. That, that maybe we should have had this opportunity when we were playing all that music,
But I think that's the one of the keys of your success in doing this. And Billy and I were sitting over on the couch, listening to what's going on before, and he leaned over and said, what people don't realize are what those guys are doing right now, and we get it because 20 years in the business, is that what you're doing, it sounds so easy. Right, but you don't know how much experience that you bring to the table every day. You don't know how much of a playing off each other back and forth. I mean, the 67-year-old guy going upstairs and dying. I'm listening this morning, and it's killing me. Right, I'm howling. But that comes from years of really knowing how to take
knowing what works,
piece of information and make it work. Yeah,
and really knowing each other, because in the morning you could sit here and look at certain subjects. And I'll look at one, it might seem obscure and sort of out there, but I'm thinking, oh, Howard will have something to say about this. Right. And then there might be something super obvious that somehow it just doesn't feel like it's going to work for us, so you pass it over.
Yeah.
Well, you
it's
guys are
really
like,
getting to know each other.
You're
right?
like a married couple. I mean, seriously, how long have you guys been together?
30 years.
Yeah, like that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's seriously in this
This
business.
is the longest
that doesn't
relationship I've
happen.
ever had.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
I've had sexless relationships before, but not this one.
I said that a couple of years ago. My dog Jessie, who passed away at 14, I've surpassed it now, but she was always the woman who never left me. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys. One of the reasons that you're here, like a lot of broadcasters, and again, everyone thinks they can do this. But it's all theoretical until you have to fill a couple hours, until you have to be on a topic. And Randy and Bill have a wealth of experience. And, and we've made this offer to other guys, and we're happy to make it to you. Come in and use the studio and do your thing and broadcast to whoever is interested in listening to it. So I guess my first question is, what exactly would you guys be doing, and what subject matters will you be covering?
Right. So I think origins of this, and I was looking for somebody like Bill that it's like you guys. There's a good fit. I mean, we went out and met and had lunch and started talking about this topic, and it just went, we carried it on in the parking lot, and Bill's looking at his watch going, I'm in so much trouble at home, and we kept going. So it was like, okay, then this is going well, right? But I think all the great ideas start in a dog park.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, we all know that. And what the realization was that one day, and I'm a political animal, always have been. Billy is too, so that's a good fit. And one of the realizations in the dog park one day, you get to know all the dogs and then the owners, is that the conversation always, filtered over to politics. But it was never Canadian politics, obviously. Mm-hmm. It was always about American politics. And I thought, you know what? Canadians are so invested in talking about what's going on south of the border. There's something here, I think, for the Canadian market. So the show is going to be called The 49th Perspective, kind of a Canadian view of what's going on, down south of the border. And it is something that people, talk about consistently all the time. And you guys proved it this morning perfectly, because you hit the highlight of what's going on in the Canadian political scene, and that's the funny names on the lawn signs. I went, oh my God, it couldn't be better.
Well, that and the fact that the biggest scandal is the guy running for prime minister may have pretended to be an insurance broker. Oh my God, is there a dweebier white guy thing you can be? It was scandalous.
Just terrible.
I was saying to Randy, Canadian politics is kind of like a couple going to a swingers party, and all they're really into is hand jobs.
What the hell
I mean,
is happening to Bill Hayes?
You know what I mean?
There you go.
It just means it's so vanilla. I mean, come on, we just don't.
It's not sexy
First
at
of all,
No.
the Bill Hayes I knew didn't have swing clubs as a reference and vanilla as well. Bill, what are you up to? For real?
I'll tell you.
What's the 49th perspective?
But he
all
was
about?
never on internet radio, which is which is really
well,
different.
we're not either. We're broadcasting live now, so let's keep the swearing down for another 7 minutes, and then you can say the F word. It'll be
Case
fun
in
for
point,
you.
though, of how whacked it is and how out there it is and how much it drives the conversation. 12,000 catalog lies of Trump and having sex with everyone and lying to everyone and ponying up to Putin and all the rest of it. And then last night the story came out. I said to Billy this morning, I said, you can't make this stuff up. That a bunch of insiders in the White House now are coming up and saying, actually there was a meeting back in March where Trump was really pushing the issue. We should be able to shoot the immigrants in the leg. Yeah. And you go, no, he didn't.
And
Come
the
on.
moat. Don't forget the moat.
The moat with the snakes and alligators.
Snakes and alligators. and it's like, well, he wanted to shoot them, and then they said, no, you can't, because they're humans, right? and then he looked that up, and then and then he went back and went, how about just in the leg, right? You're looking at this going, you are kidding me.
But I agree with and Bill's analogy is an apt one. It is just more sexy, interesting, and whatever it is, to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, and the problem with Canadian politics is, day to day, it's fairly dull. I mean, this blackface thing was great, but mostly it's not, we don't have that. And the weird thing is, it's like watching, American television. We know more about them, obviously, than they know about us.
Yeah, always have. And that's another part of it, actually. If you want to go to the bigger cultural view, we're like the little mouse next to the elephant, and we're always aware of what's going on with the elephant.
You know, a great contrast to Jim Jeffries, you know, the
Love
comic.
him. Brilliant.
In fact, I put it on our Facebook page. He went up to Edmonton in Alberta to discuss the name Edmonton Eskimos in relation to Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
And just to see, you just got to watch it. I mean, I can't explain it, but it's just so Canadian compared to that issue in the United States.
Well, those guys he talked to,
yeah,
I saw it. Those guys, they are Canada.
Exactly.
That's us. That's exactly who we are.
And the way it wraps up with the two Inuit ladies, what they say, it really is amazing.
Brilliant.
But again, it just displays the difference between the two countries. And politics, it's just so striking, the difference.
Now, Randy, you mentioned one of your kids works for iTunes, which is a great end to have. I'm telling you, get that podcast to what's hot, what's new, get them to raise it up.
Instead of the $14.95 a month, I'm down to $14. So, you know, I mean, that's why you raise children.
Insiders help you with.
That's why you raise children. That's awesome. The show is called The 49th Perspective, and what's your format? You're going to do an hour? You're going to do a half an hour, 45?
Just see however it goes. I mean, we're probably going to cover, maybe a couple of topics per podcast. So, you know, freewheeling, there's no limits to the time. Probably 90 minutes to 2 hours in that. Cover those topics. Have some guests on, some local Canadian people, whether in the sports field or in writing. And
basically, whoever we can get.
Whoever we can get, because we're not paying them. So, if you're listening right now, call me.
I would tell you what I tell all our friends, and I had this conversation with my buddy Jeff Lumbey, and I said, here's the thing. At our age, at the stage we're all doing this for fun now, basically, I said, do it for yourselves. Do it so that you'll enjoy it. And then if people find it, great. But really, it's for you. I mean, it'll be do you not agree? It'll be of great interest to others. But if it's not of interest to you, then why bother?
Which is true, but at the same time, number one, don't swear.
Yep.
And package it in such a way that you can peddle it to radio stations.
That's a good point too.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you also, 2 hours is a long time. For somebody to sit and listen to it, we found that out. And the reason we're down to an hour 50, but that's because we're doing this show on a radio station. But when we were just doing a podcast, we usually kept it to about an hour 20. What we tried to do is this: what's the average commute in the city? 45 each way.
Right.
Sort of that's kind of the parameter. But again, don't listen to us because the fact is, it should just be for yourself.
Well, the other thing with it too, and you're right, we have to experiment to see what time frame works, and I think it's best that you really talk about whatever the subject is until you're starting to go back to where you started, and then it's time to get into something else. You know what I mean? If you say, "Well, we got to talk half an hour about this," and 15 minutes in, you're back to where you started.
But I think that's the beauty of doing a podcast is that we've been doing this long enough. We're going to know if we've gassed the topic, let's move on. And if the show was 35 minutes, it's 35 minutes.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. That's the whole point.
Perfect, because I also say that too. The audience doesn't know how long you were supposed to go. When you're finished and you say, you know what, we're done. We're going to do a podcast extra here in a couple seconds. But that's kind of our criteria. Like, have we had enough fun? Are we done? We're done because we're doing it for ourselves. And if others like it, that's great. Phil, do your business. We're going to hang with Randy and Bill. They're look for the 49th Perspective. Great title, by the way. It'll be when's your first? What's your plan for the first one?
We'll talk when we get off the air when we can get to the studio. Maybe
Phil,
next week. Yeah.
Hang on, Phil. Here we go. Phil, what mic is that? 6? Yep. Are you sure?
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Phil, do your business.
This episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Freedom Construction, Ringside MD, Clear Air Solutions, and our newest sponsor, CDN Technologies. We broadcast to the world from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show. More Humble and Fred tomorrow and online at humbleandfredradio.com.
Still here, guys, keep your head. What's that? Oh, okay, yeah. No, we're still here. This is the after show part. That sounds a lot like the other show part, except every once in a while you'll hear someone swear. Fuck. Yeah, it's funny. The first time that we did a podcast and said, like, in front of microphones and said "fuck," Like, it was so weird.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't
really,
stop
yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
I really, for a while
You're
there-
looking for the door to open, right?
Oh no, like, it was crazy. Like for a while there, the novelty it was, but then eventually, and we had this conversation recently, it just kind of dropped away. Even when we were on Sirius,
dropped away. And there was a bit of a conscious effort there because what I said before the podcast extra. Seriously, don't swear because you know what I mean? Because
it's easy.
It's easy, and the thing is, I enjoy doing the show way more without swearing.
Yeah.
Don't you?
There was a guy in my
because you become a little more clever.
A guy in my business said Jim Rohn. He's passed away, but he was Anthony Robbins' mentor. He's one of the great motivational speakers of all time. And he was talking one time and talking about some of the skills in life and things like that. And he said, one thing I would suggest is don't cuss. He said nobody's going to ever fault you for not cussing. Right? People aren't going to come up to you and say, that Howard guy, he doesn't cuss. What's wrong with him?
Right.
Same in stand-up. Like I don't consciously not swear, but I don't consciously swear when I'm on stage. Yeah, I think some jokes just need that little qualifier, but some guys, that's the joke.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if you're one of the first couple of comics on any night and you say the F word out loud, it's provocative. Less now than it used to be. But by the fifth or sixth person, they've heard it enough. The novelty's worn off. And if you look at a guy like Seinfeld, never swears.
Never.
He's edgy. He's super edgy. Has been, but never says that.
Well, what do you make of Bill Burr? Because I think he's one of the funniest guys alive. But he swears. But more so than his swearing is his ability and his I guess the rationale to go over the line, to actually push that a little bit. Yeah, but it works.
But he's also very clever.
Very funny, yeah.
But see, that's what I enjoyed about doing the Humble and Fred show in the 90s was people knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Without us really saying it.
Innuendo is, that was brilliant for radio.
And that was so much fun, and people used to say that, oh, your show's so clever. And then when we started doing this, and it's fuck this, fuck, it's all of a sudden, it's like, you know what?
It was better doing that.
Without.
I remember doing mornings on hits for 8 years, and the caveat was for all of us is our kids are listening. Whatever we're talking about, our listeners know, but we have to say it in such a way that our kids can't figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about anything and everything. I mean, it's a rock morning show, so you're down in the ditch, but your kids could still listen to it and not really know what's going on.
And we had that rationale given to us, but I get it, but looking back on it, it's like now with the way media is consumed, what we should have said is, well, this isn't a show for your kids to listen to. But in those days, it was like a shotgun, wide cume, But when in reality, we weren't doing a show for kids. Right. And this show isn't for kids.
But don't you think what Fred said is actually more than true? It's a part of the way we live. Because when you couldn't swear, you wanted to swear because I swear that's what we do.
Right,
and then you get there and you realize it's kind of really not that. So it's a pendulum. All of life is like that. You go one way and then you go back the other.
Well, we did 5 years on satellite radio, and again, by that time we had kind of had the novelty wear off, saying, but we didn't swear. We still swore a little bit. We swore. I'll tell you what. We would swear more when the guests we had, whether they were a rock star or somebody, when they were swearing, it seemed like we would swear.
You wanted to fit in.
Well, and it just became the conversation. But our day-to-day show...
But you learn, right?
Yeah.
So, and one other thing I would say as well, I mean, if you're going to ramp up a bit. But seriously, a lot of these stations, I mean, they're looking for content.
They're looking for free content.
You know what I'm saying? So do what we do. Package like 2 25-minute segments or something, and then be able to say, we have an hour for you.
One of the parts of this that I wanted to get your feedback on that for whatever reason, but it's my own reason. Being of a political stripe, and people will say, back in the day when I was involved with the conservatives that, you're right wing. It's like, no. I mean, you don't have to just be in this lane. Of course. You can care about the environment. You can care about homeless people. You can, I mean, for the love of God, you don't have to be some walking zombie just because, you may vote a certain way or think a certain way. But part of the reason of me doing this show, part of the serious side is I think we need to wake up. When I was done with talk radio 17 years ago, it felt like it was just a whole bunch of noise. Everybody yelling at each other, and it's, this is a problem, and you're an idiot, and that's not fair, and, you're wasting money here. today, I really, and I think a lot of it is, come with the Trumpism south of the border, is that I think that we're getting into a dangerous time. And I think that there are things that people need to start taking seriously and start to talk about. Is this going to change the world? I don't know. But I think that we need to start talking about things like, open racism and putting kids in cages at the border, for the love of God, that we're sitting back and this has become the new norm. And the level of discourse has become so acceptable that I find it crushing, and I can't imagine one day that my kids are going to say, why didn't you do something? Like, you saw all this stuff going on. This feels like history in slow motion. I mean, it really does.
If I'm honest, I got to believe that talk radio has really pushed us to this. And think of guys like Howard Stern as an example. I would take him out of that. He does a show similar to what you guys are doing. On a higher platform.
That's right.
But you know what I mean. Same sort of deal.
Yeah, we have a thing going on with Stern. Like, he'll get Matthew McConaughey, and we'll get somebody that once met Matthew McConaughey's cousin. That's us.
So there's a similarity there for sure.
Blend.
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
similar.
Yeah.
We're crushing it every day, Bill.
But I'm talking about the Rush Limbaughs of the world. Those guys who, it didn't matter what was going on. Everything's wrong. And it allowed everyone to be as negative as they are. Do yourself a favor and go to any newspaper online or any place that allows a comment, and almost without exception, it's 95% negative.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. The 24-hour newsreel in general has changed the landscape.
Yep.
Because they got to come up with content, and often that content is that. It to be negative and hateful is easier content than to be positive and good.
Well, positive isn't content.
And the thing is, nowadays everybody picks a side, and it doesn't matter where you are on the issue. It's just, what is my team saying, and I'm going to go that way.
Right. But I think a big part of this is cutting it down the middle and said, for the love of God, there's no right and there's no left. There's right. And I'm an older guy, and I am looking at this from my own perspective. But I don't think that it's a fool's errand to say it's not a bad idea to get rid of assault rifles. Down in the U.S. when they're killing 400,000 people a year with guns. That you take people like Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, and you allow them to kill thousands of people a year and addict millions, and allow them to walk away with $11 billion of their capital.
Well,
this has got to it's wrong.
The problem with the North American society, but the American society in particular, is this: a couple of weeks ago, they pushed a bill through, I think, to ban vape pens, because they killed 7 kids.
Mm-hmm.
But 10,000 people died from AR. You
can't have a Kinder Egg.
Here's the
right.
Here's the thing. This morning in U.S. schools, this morning they had drills. They had what do they call them? Active shooter drills.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In many schools now in America.
Yeah.
And that's where you realize, well, things have just gotten, way down the road.
Here's the thing. I mean, to correlate to, it's like the environment right now in global warming. Even if you don't totally buy in, what's to be harmed by moving in that direction? Nobody's going to be harmed. It's the same with guns. Of course, guns don't kill people. People kill people. But one less gun on the street, how is that bad?
Well, I've said that about environment, and because the problem with that discussion is, there's one side that thinks they're right, and the other side that thinks they're wrong. But the problem is the side that thinks that there is no climate change, if they're wrong,
they're gambling with our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my point is, I wanted to start this campaign called Just in Case.
Yeah.
It's the Just in Case campaign.
Yeah.
How about we do this? You don't believe it, but just in case. Because that kind of lets you go, okay, but climate change is wrong, but just in case, I'm going to start killing. I'm going to stop killing everything.
No, but the problem with that is the alarmists turn off the people that might have a rational look at it, want to look at it rationally, but these alarmists on the other side, it's like, fuck enough, man. Like, don't scare me into this.
There's a whole lot of instances like that, though. The best one I can think of recently is Greta Thunberg, and you see everybody dumping on her, but not on her message.
And a buddy,
you know what I mean?
Funny you say that, because this morning, I won't say who he is, but a buddy of ours who's a little bit more on the right side of the argument, whatever, he puts up a thing and saying, it's an article denying the climate is, being affected. But his comment pissed me off. He's like, over to you, Greta. It's a 13-year-old fucking kid.
16.
Yeah, she's
16? Okay. She's a child.
You know what? We were
trying to do something.
I was having a conversation with some people the other day and said, I think one of the great tragedies of society is people start to pay mortgages and wear long pants, and all of a sudden those people over there, those young people, they don't know what they're doing and everything else. And we started talking about, let's look back over history at some of the things that the young people were against. Vietnam. I think we should have listened to them. I think they're right. 500,000 kids in Montreal talking about climate change and talking about the fact that this world is being destroyed. We were not that long ago told that climate change, if we don't get our act together in 100 or so years, it's really going to change. Now science is talking 10 to 12 years that
Before there's some real
change
major...
could. And your comment about, well, what if? What if they're right?
Just
Maybe.
in case. The
Just in case
campaign.
However, one thing I will say on this issue is you and I and us sitting in this, not a lot we can do about health care. We have to look to government to fix that on some level because of the money involved.
Yep.
If there's one issue where the people can actually take charge and do something and move forward, it's the environment and the climate. And look around you, buddy. I don't see a lot. I'm still seeing lots of water bottles and Tim Horton cups and, really.
There's also a big whataboutism. Well, why should we do anything? Look at China.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing, guys. Our age group. We should do another podcast called Four Guys Just Yelling. But our age group, it's not us. It's going to be. We're just going to have to. Maybe our age group can just stop having shitty debates about it. Maybe our kids can maybe take the.
That's right.
Because that's all we're going to do.
That's a good point.
Like we're on the back nine here. I hate to break it to you. Sorry, Bill. You look great, but no offense. We're all going to die in the next 25 years.
Oh, easy. I want to. What are you kidding?
I have this thing I call it. I told my kids, I go, don't forget, Daddy's, because I figured out I'll be 84 in like 2044. I go, don't forget, hashtag 2044. I'm done.
Yeah.
So anyway, we gotta go. I gotta go. You gotta go. Listen, we're looking forward to having you guys in the studio, and if from maybe time to time you can drop in and do a little bit on the show. Cool. That would be awesome.
Really appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah,
you had said one of the shows you wanted Howard and I to guest, and maybe just take this.
Yeah, just take that.
This is it.
Just run this and then edit it out for
We're
a time.
done. We'll take it from there.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Sean
Thank you.
Sargent, thank you for producing the Twitch feed today. Twitch people, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and that's all we do. Okay.